What's going on, guys? It's the Bigs Podcast. It is our first video here on our new accounts, and it's episode 64 in the 2021 season. It's the championship coronation for the new champion in 2021. We'll get to that in a moment, but first, I'll introduce who's here with me, Jason Ashby. Jason, thanks so much for being here.
Joe, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here. Excited to crown our new champion of the 2021 season and kick off this new account we have. So lots of new stuff, exciting stuff, and I'm happy to get it going.
Yes, and with me, as nearly always, our commissioner, our now three-time champion, and the new world heavyweight bigs champion of 2021, a three-time champion, and our commissioner, Ben Nisman. Benny, how you doing this night?
Doing great, man, especially after that introduction. It's a little bit delayed over a week. We've been meaning to do this, but it's a pleasure as always. So thanks for putting this on for us.
Yeah, I appreciate you being here as always with me. That does sort of lend itself to the elephant in the room. Why a new channel? Why a new setup? Why do we have Vimeo now? Why is everything else expanding so much? And the truth is, YouTube went ahead and shut ComCenter Sports' channel down. They claimed spam and false advertisement. I appealed. They said no go. We've got to move on. And with that, we lose over 300 videos, some of which 3 hours long. We're talking probably 1,000 hours of content that we had, and 3 seasons essentially of our fantasy league gone into the ether forever. It's sad, but with that, we need to recognize that maybe this is a blessing in disguise. We are able to revamp everything here, and we are able to move forward with a new title of our podcast, something more in tune with what we're actually doing here, and a whole lot of new social media. This is a way to reinvent ourselves here, and I look forward to doing that so much. As we enter the off season, ideas are flooding through my head. I know they are with you guys too. We're open to whatever we want to do. If we want to talk about a certain team one day, we will. If you want to talk about a certain player or a certain position one day, we can. That's what this is all about. And it's all up to you, our audience, and our league mates. That's what makes this podcast what it is. And that's what makes this league what it is. With that all said, let's talk about the 2021 championship matchup, which had our co-host Benjamin Nisman taking on second-year manager Kostas Paragis. We'll go ahead and show the screen here. Benjamin, it's an 11-9 championship win, third time overall, and the second time in 3 years for you, sir. You get an 11-9 win here, close categories. You win by 3 walks, and you win by the save. Kostas wins by 2 home runs, 3 ticks on the batting average. You guys tied in triples. On your bench this week, Benjamin Nisman, you went 4 for 21. Is that good?
Doesn't seem too bad. It sounds like 230.
So 4 for 20 would be 200. So this is 190. With 2 doubles, 2 RBIs.
Johnny on the spot as usual.
2 doubles, 2 RBIs, a walk, and 4 strikeouts. None of that plays. The 4 strikeouts are certainly the difference in that category. But A, you'd have to be perfect, and B, you'd have to be putting them in for somebody who was already in there, and maybe he's already getting a strikeout. Your moves this week: Isaac Paredes, 0 for 3 with a run. Greg Holland got you 2 innings, a relief appearance, and a win. Eric Haas, 1 for 4 with a strikeout and an error. The error certainly played, but doesn't really matter in the long run. Daniel Norris, an inning and a relief appearance. Chris Martin, an inning and a relief appearance with a strikeout. Trevor Steffen, a relief appearance, 2 innings, nothing earned. Alex Lang, a relief appearance. Zach Littell, a relief appearance. Ross Detweiler, a relief appearance. Lars Nootbaar, who the fuck is, where can I purchase a Lars Nootbaar and what is in it? Okay? What is in a Lars Nootbaar? I don't know, but I hope there's a lot of nougat. He went 2 for 3 with an RBI and a walk. You picked up Sean Doolittle, who didn't make it in. And your final move, I'm going to ask you personally about after we finish this wrap up, but you added Mike Trout. Okay. For Costas' side here, he goes 8 for 31 on the bench, Benjamin.
Well, 8 for 32 would be 230.
258. You went in the wrong direction.
Sure did.
It's 2 runs, a double, an RBI, 6 walks, and 11 strikeouts. The 6 walks is what really plays here. Some of it is a bit crazy. Like on Saturday, Costas played Miguel Cabrera at first base, who went 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts, or I'm sorry, 0 for 4 here. And here's CJ Crone, who was like tearing it up while he was at home. This was in Arizona, but he gets 2 walks here on the bench. Then you just got to find one more. But that's a pretty big play here, given all of what's going on in the matchup. The on-base percentage was fairly close. You get those 2 walks, maybe it's a bit closer. His moves this week. He drops Lamont Wade for Miguel Cabrera on Monday, and this was kind of the Monday from hell, if I have to be honest. Like, you watch this dude burn 4 moves on a Monday. Miguel Cabrera, 2 for 4 with a double. Andres Jimenez, 1 for 3 with a double and 2 RBIs. Nico Goodrum, 1 for 3 with 2 runs, a triple, 2 RBIs, 2 walks, and a strikeout. And adds Luis Torrens, 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs. That's 4 dudes, all of them fucking rake. You get a triple out of it. He gets 6 RBIs. Ben, after Monday, you must have been absolutely losing your mind.
Yeah, that's an understatement, Joe. I couldn't have thought of a worse dream for Monday, man. It was brutal. And sure, it's 4 ads burned, but when you get that kind of production from your ads, you sign up for it. I mean, what did he bat on Monday? 400?
375 with a 407, 2 runs, 3 doubles, a triple, 7 RBIs, a steal, 2 walks, and 2 strikeouts. He had 2 of his regulars, or 2 of the guys he owned at that point before that day in the lineup, in CJ Crone and Adalberto Mondesi. Mondesi got him the steal. CJ Crone gets him the other double, an RBI, and 1 strikeout, but goes 2 for 5. Like, it's insanity that Monday it set the tone for what we thought was going to be a miraculous finish to a Cinderella season. We'll continue on here. He dropped Luis Torrens for Harrison Bader and then benched him on Tuesday, which I found very interesting. Noe Ramirez was added on Wednesday for Nico Goodrum. An inning, a loss, a 9 ERA, a 2 whip, and a relief appearance. That's ugly. And then the whole rest of the way, every move he made, I don't want this to sound wrong, like sound bad when I say it, but they were wrong moves. Wilmer Flores, 1 for 4, 2 strikeouts and an error. Mitch Garver, 0 for 4 with a walk. Brad Miller, 0 for 3 with a strikeout. Manny Margot, he benched. Kevin Kiermaier, 0 for 1 with 2 walks and a strikeout. It's about the best he got. And finishes it off with Eric Haas, 1 for 5 with a double, an RBI, and 3 strikeouts.
See, I thought that Wilmer Flores did more than that for him on Sunday.
We can take a look at what he did on Sunday. I'm just talking about the day he picked him up.
Oh, okay.
Guys,
sorry.
Yeah.
I misunderstood.
Wilmer Flores did have a really nice day for him on Sunday, but the day he picked him up, every single one of these is like kind of ugly.
Mm-hmm.
Key players. Let's talk about key players, and then we'll hear a lot from our new champion here. First, we'll start with you, Benjamin, who won the week. I guess we'll start with J.P. Crawford, 375 average, 464 on base percentage, 4 runs, 2 doubles, 3 RBIs, 3 walks, and 5 strikeouts.
There's your MVP.
Is he?
For sure.
All right.
And we'll get into why.
Sure.
Later.
Next, I guess we got to talk about Bryce Harper. He's pretty important. 238, a 304, 3 runs, 2 doubles, a homer, 2 RBIs, 2 walks, 10 strikeouts is ugly, but you won the category regardless. And finally, Carlos Santana, who had a horrible final month for you. And there were points where I think a lot of our league mates were thinking, why is he still hanging on to this guy? I know I was. .318 average, 375 on base, 2 runs, 3 RBIs, 2 walks, and 2 strikeouts. Hunter Dozier gave you the triple. He also gave you an error, but he had a nice week for you there as well. Cesar Hernandez, 2 doubles and 3 RBIs. It was just enough. It wasn't a great offensive performance from you this week, Ben, but the pitching side is really where we get to write home about it. Max Fried, 7 innings, a win, 6 strikeouts, 1 earned run for a 1.29 ERA and an 0.57 WHIP. Next, we'll talk about Sean Manaea, 5 2/3, a win, a walk, 6 strikeouts, 3.18 ERA, 1.41 WHIP. And finally, Liam Hendriks, 3 innings, 2 saves, 7 strikeouts, nothing earned, an 0.33 WHIP, and 3 relief appearances. He had the possibility of getting 9 outs. 7 of them were by strikeout over this week. I think you'll sign up for that every single week, huh, Ben?
Yeah, man. In general, the pitching is what did it, and you called it in the beginning of the week that this was going to come down to pitching. In what regard, I'm not sure, because by Sunday it didn't come down to pitching. It came down to offensive categories, but for what seemed to be a pretty subpar pitching staff in the starting regard, with Max Fried and Manaea leading the way. Obviously, we know Max Fried started off pretty poorly and started kicking in gear towards the second half. Sean Manaea, who also would implode pretty often, but stayed pretty steady and consistent. And then finally, picks number 3, 4, and 5 of Kenley Jansen, Liam Hendriks, and Edwin Diaz, 2 saves apiece from my third, fourth, and fifth pick, and I won saves by 1. So it's
not a single walk from those guys, not a single earned run from those guys, and only what looks like one batter reached base against them this week.
Right.
That's incredible.
It was just fortunate that, and even in my semifinal against you, the bullpen brought it. But more importantly, here in the finals, just not one hiccup, and they all came in for 2 saves apiece. It's poetic in a way. And fortunately, a lot of these bullpen pieces that I picked up did the job. A Daniel Norris for 1 clean inning, Chris Martin, 1 clean inning. This character Lang I've never heard of that I picked up in bumper to bumper Manhattan traffic that took me 4 hours to get home. Honestly, 4 hours. Never happened to me before. It was him, Littell that I picked up that same day, 1 2/3, 4 strikeouts, none earned, and Stefan, 2 innings pitched, none earned, a walk and strikeouts. I was just looking for guys that haven't come in a few days, but have been good recently. So their manager would more than likely go to them once or twice by the end of the weekend. I was just trying to get to the 42. No matter what, I knew that I was close. And we'll get into the week day by day more and more, but it was fortunate that I was able to find the right guys to give me quality innings. And a bad start from Flexen on Monday while we were doing this show, he had given up the bomb. 5 innings, 7.20 ERA, and a 1.60 WHIP. 5 innings, though, gets me closer, grabbing another win. Yeah. I never thought that I could go 7-0 wins to losses. You know, and that's wild to me that the pitching staff was that good that I didn't even record a loss.
Mm-hmm. It was an incredible pitching performance, and we'll get deeper into it here momentarily. Let's get to Costas' team here because he certainly had himself a really nice week. We're going to start with Trey Turner, 458 average, 480 on base percentage, 8 runs, 2 doubles, 3 homers, 11 RBIs, a steal, a walk, and 4 strikeouts. Next, I guess we have to talk about Giancarlo Stanton's homer and 4 RBIs, 3 runs, 2 doubles, 2 walks, and 8 strikeouts. And certainly CJ Cron, 353 average, 421 on base, 3 runs, 2 doubles, 4 RBIs, a walk, and 5 strikeouts. Shout out to Wilmer Flores as well, Ben. You nailed that one. 2 doubles, 2 RBIs, a 308, and a 308. It was a really nice week offensively for Costas. Maybe not as power driven as you would like, with only 5 homers, but 18 doubles and 29 runs scored. Those will play. Those will certainly play. On the pitching side for him, first, I guess we've got to talk about Logan Webb. 12 innings, a win, 2 walks, 14 strikeouts, a 3 ERA, and a 1 whip. This dude, top 30, 35 pitcher next year?
Oh yeah, for
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
I think
Yep.
so. I think so. Him or Max Fried next year.
Hmm. Probably if it depends on what the Giants do in the offseason to bolster their offense. Like if they were to bring back Chris Bryant, I'm more interested in Logan Webb. But right now, looking at those two teams, if they were to be the exact same teams next year, I'm probably still going to Freed with the better offensive support.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, they might face each other in the NLCS here. Jason, how about you? Max Fried or Logan Webb?
Yeah, I agree with Ben. It definitely makes you think, but Logan Webb's going to face the Dodgers a bunch of times, whereas Max
He has to
Fried's
go to
gonna
Colorado.
Yeah.
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 Whereas Fried's going to face the Marlins and the Nationals and, our Mets. So,
What a sad
so
state
yeah,
of affairs.
yeah. So, I probably lean towards Fried at the moment.
Okay. Next, we'll talk about the guys who went 7 innings for him. Chris Sale, 7 2/3, 13 strikeouts, a 587 and a 157. Alek Manoah, 7 innings, a win, 10 strikeouts, a 129 and an 029. That kid is going to fly up some draft boards next season. Zach Wheeler, 7 innings, a loss, a walk, 7 strikeouts, 257 and an 071. And Steven Matz, 7 innings, a win, a homer, a walk, 5 strikeouts, 257 and a 1. I mean, this was a good pitching staff for much of the season. It just disappoints you when you look up at the scoreboard and he's got a 4.19 ERA on the week, mostly because of a blow up here from Michael Lorenzen. Sale didn't have the best start, and Alex Cobb was bad.
It's a big one.
Those are the 3 bad ones, and when it's this close and you're this deep into the playoffs, this is what matters. This is absolutely what matters. Ben, let's have your thoughts on this whole thing. Show me what you saw. Tell me what we're looking at here. Were you sweating because you were down 14-7 after Tuesday? It was 10-9 Costas after Thursday, and you guys were tied on Friday and Saturday at 10. Where does this rank among your other 2 championships? And how's it feel, man? Like, tell me where you're at.
Yeah, well, the feeling is surreal. Like it still really hasn't kicked in just because after the draft, going through the ups and downs of the season, there's no way I could have assumed that this was a championship team. I even think that you had your questions about this team, like how it could hold up offensively on the pitching side. It wasn't really great in one thing besides what I'm usually good at, which is bullpen. Aside from that, even, Carlos Santana wasn't drawing walks and getting on base the same way. He had a terrible year. And I picked him like 9th overall. David Fletcher fell off the face of the earth in the second half. I mean, he was one of the worst baseball players. So this team didn't really have much going for it. It's just that I had a couple of really strong weeks against opponents that kept me above in the standings, and getting that bye was just so critical.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to take a dig at you when I say, or Costas when I say this, but I think I had the matchups that could have got me there. I feel like facing Jay Ferraro in the semis would have been worse for me. I feel like playing Mike Haber in the final would have been way worse for me. So I said that if I got the bye, I had a chance. If I didn't get the bye, I had no chance. As far as through the week, I said that Monday was a bad dream. Thursday was a nightmare. If you want to pull up Thursday's offensive performance.
Here we go. Thursday. 139 batting average, 162 on base percentage, 2 RBIs and 8 strikeouts. That's it.
Yeah. And the pitching was fine. I dug into the innings a little bit, but after Alex Cobb has that blow up start against Texas earlier in the day, I'm thinking, all right, this is huge, because now all I need to do is have a an inkling of competent offense on Thursday to make some headway here, and it just never occurred. Like they were just so bad. What did I get? 2 hits?
Gosh, one for four, one for four. I guess what's amounting to a one for, what day is this? The 30th. You got a 2 for 4 out of Carlos Santana and 3 other 1 for 4s. So what's that? 5 hits on a day?
I'm surprised I got that many. Honestly, I thought it was less.
Yeah.
But once I get that triple from Dozier on Wednesday, when that happens, this matchup becomes an instant classic because that was a one stat from him. Like, he's usually not losing triples. He's either winning it or tying it. And since he got it from a pickup on Monday from Goodrum, I think I'm done as far as that category. And I get a random one from Hunter Dozier, who I picked up on the Sunday prior just so I could fill a lineup. This guy could have very easily been dropped by me, and I stuck with him. And honestly, I know you threw Bryce Harper as one of the 3 that were my key players. This guy had a better week. He did have 6 strikeouts, which is ugly, but a 286 average for me, a 318 on base, the triple. I mean, I got to consider him as one of the 3. And fortunately, Wednesday was a good day, and Friday ended up being a good day.
Friday was a great day for you, Ben. 371 with a 436 on base, 6 runs, a double, 2 homers, 7 RBIs, a steal, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts, and just 1 error from Odubel Herrera.
Right.
And on the pitching side, 10 and a third, a win, 2 saves, 13 strikeouts, a 174 and an 077 with 5 relief appearances.
Sounds like one earned over 10 innings. And then I thought that could really keep me in it, but then here comes Saturday. So I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, okay, I've lost Monday, I've lost Tuesday, I won on Wednesday. I had a pretty good average on Wednesday. Can you pull that up real quick?
Wednesday? Yeah, we can pull Wednesday up. Here's Wednesday. You had a 303 with a 395 with the triple, a homer, 5 RBIs, 6 runs, 2 doubles, 4 walks, 6 strikeouts, 2 more errors. But I mean, at that point, like, I think you're throwing errors out the window. You know?
Yeah. So Wednesday, mine was better. Thursday,
10 and a third, 2 wins. Wow, this was a great pitching day too.
Yeah. The days that I was good on offense, I was also good on pitching. Now, then we go. So I'm thinking, okay, he's won Monday, he won Tuesday, I won Wednesday, 2-1. He won Thursday. He's got a 3-1 lead on days. I win Friday. It's 3-2 him. So here comes Saturday. And all I have to do is once again have a semblance of competent offense on Saturday. I go 2 for 16 with a run, 2 RBIs, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts to the tune of a 125 average and a 250 on base. Joe, Jason, does it get worse than this on a finals Saturday? And I'm thinking, how the hell am I still in this? And it's not, and I honestly, man, I could have certainly managed better as far as the decisions I made going into Monday. The guys that I picked to fill the lineup clearly didn't help. But my God, like, this isn't even like, I could put the, 8 managers from the bigs, and they would just stand there and maybe draw some walks and keep me on base better than some of these guys are doing. It was brutal. And
I think you saved your season not playing Dallas Keuchel to try to get the innings on Saturday.
That's right. That's
huge. Chris Flexen would have given you another great start, but
sure. But again,
unnecessary.
The point was to get to the 42, and I wasn't going to throw the season away on somebody that could just blow up the ERA. And I think there was one, whether it was walks that were kind of close or home runs that were close. It
Home runs were
was
close.
home runs,
He
right?
blew out of the water with walks. He gave up 23. You gave up
Right.
6 across
Yeah.
43 and a third. You gave up 6.
Yeah.
That's not fair.
And I got to the 42 by Sunday. I had already gotten it with the bullpen. So inching to the minimum, as weird of a waiver pickup as Keuchel was, and there were many times that I just benched him and didn't use him, and the times that I used him, he would blow up. What did he do on Monday? It wasn't great, but what he did do is get 5 innings and a win. And that sets me up. I mean, I can't really ask for more than that when I'm thinking, okay, Keuchel against the Tigers on a Monday. Well, I might be throwing fuel to the fire right now if this guy just gets destroyed and now I'm playing from behind pitching wise. Or maybe he can pitch competently enough that he'll get me some innings. He not only got me innings, he got a win. So I'm feeling pretty good. And on top of that win, Liam Hendricks gets that save because he pitched well enough. I mean, that was actually a crazy game that the Tigers ended up coming all the way back, and then the White Sox ended up winning later in the game. But it came down to with 2 outs, Hendricks faced Nico Goodrum, and I texted you guys and I said, if Nico hits a bomb off Hendricks, the season's over. I don't think I'm coming back from that bad of a Monday. Monday was bad enough, but if I can't complete the save, if he drops another bomb, if I get a loss now out of all of that, it's all for naught, So
that brings us to Sunday, Benji. You were tied going into Sunday.
Yeah.
You bench everybody but Harper, Crawford, Machado, and Santana. Was there any thought of anybody else?
Definitely not Dozier, because I saw how many strikeouts he had. There was a consideration of Cesar Hernandez, but again, I just didn't want to strike out. I knew that I was playing 4 guys. It was just a matter of which 4 guys I was going to play. I wasn't going to bench Harper because I knew he could walk, and walks were damn close going into Sunday. I won by 3 walks. And
You had 1. He had 2.
Right. So I was up by 4 going into the day. I'm not going to not play Machado because there is that possibility that Machado has that big final day. So I went with him. Carlos Santana, it was a no-brainer for me because he was facing a left-handed pitcher. And I looked on the research and said, okay, he's actually, as bad as he's been better against lefties than righties this year. There is that chance that he'll walk a bit. He actually,
it's a nice split. It's a 283 batting average against lefties versus a 184 batting average against righties this year.
That's huge.
That is enormous. That's a great catch.
Yeah, that was a good catch. And then JP Crawford, same story, was facing a lefty. Didn't strike out too badly against lefties. So
274 batting average, 324 on base percentage, only 48 strikeouts in 250 at bats against left-handed pitching. Again, pretty damn solid.
Yeah, I mean, I went with the numbers. Sometimes you manage from the seat of your pants, and sometimes you go by the numbers. On this day, I went by the numbers, and I just look, if these 4 guys go 0 for 12, I lose. There's a good chance that of those 12, there's enough strikeouts that get accumulated here and I lose. So I played it as safe as I could and by the numbers as I could. And it seemed to work out. I mean, Carlos Santana didn't even do what I wanted him to do on that last day, which is get a walk. He didn't do that.
But he got 3 hits.
3 hits without a strikeout.
Yeah.
And Harper, it was a double in his first at bat, and I'm saying, sweet. Okay, so that's already gonna not hurt my on base percentage. He didn't strike out. He comes in for 1 more at bat. He draws a walk, and then Girardi takes him out of the game for Janikowski. And I said, you know what? Fine. That's not gonna hurt my on base. I can't strike out anymore. I'm fine with a 1 for 1 to walk. Like, I just need Costas's players to perform poorly or just a little worse than my guys. And JP
here's his
Crawford
numbers.
had.
Oh, JP Crawford, go.
Yeah, JP Crawford did rack up a pair of strikeouts, but did have a multi-hit game.
Mm-hmm.
So fortunately, that upped the on-base percentage a little bit. It didn't hurt me in the strikeout category. And finally, Machado, he was the only one out of the 4 that had a bad game. It was, I think it was 0 for 2.
0 for 2 with a strikeout and an RBI. He was pulled early in the game. But
and by the way, that 0 for 2 and the RBI was a sac fly, which lowers the on-base percentage. Mm-hmm. So in the on-base world, he was actually 0 for 3.
Right.
You know, so like when he hits the sac fly, I'm just like, oh man, like I wish he would bunted the guy in or something. Like I don't know, like just something.
Anything but a sac fly there.
Anything but a sac fly, because man on third, less than 2 out. That is what the player is going to try to do, is get a deep fly ball. So
right.
I sweated out, man, and I had done exactly what I did in 2019, which was delete the app firstly, what I did was I waited again, same as against Mike Haber in 2019, is I waited for the last minute to start benching guys. I think Costas kind of knew what the plan was, but in case he didn't, I had all 9 in the lineup, and I just slowly, I mean, the times were scattered. It was like 305, 310, 315. So I would bench the guys first that were starting at 305, and then move to 310, then bench the next group of guys, then 315, then go. Adam Duvall was the last one to get benched. I did so, and I try to play a bluff. Whether it worked or not, I don't think it would have mattered. He was going to play 9 regardless. He wasn't going to try to defend against that strategy. But it just seemed that these 4 players did enough for me on Sunday, and that was the difference.
Costas's line on Sunday: 226 average, 273 on base, 6 runs, 3 doubles, a homer, 8 RBIs. A steal, 2 walks, and 8 strikeouts. The 8 strikeouts are indeed the difference. He lost that category by 4, and you only had 3 on the day. Do the math. That's 5. It certainly is, once again, a testament to the Ben Nisman conservative strategy on a Sunday. And here it is, winning another championship, second in 3 years. And I give you all the credit in the world, buddy.
Thank you very much, man. Yeah, I don't think the team performed as well as I managed basically on this final week, which makes me feel better about it, that I was able to manage through a horrendous offensive week, that I was able to do what I'm best at, which is be a bullpen strategist, find my way to 42. And those are things I did a little bit better than Costas as far as the pitching side. As far as the hitting side, I would say that besides Sunday, he did better than me. He, picking up certain guys that he did, his ads for the most part, like Emmanuel Margot was hitting for him. It just seemed like any guy that he added was a
Monday's proof of that.
Yeah,
Monday's proof of that.
Through the week, though, he would pick up a guy and the guy would get a hit, or a walk or whatever he was, or a double. He had 18 doubles.
Yeah, insane.
If we had on base plus slugging in this league, he would have won that category outright.
No doubt.
So,
no doubt.
I just played against the score, and it really, again, just like in 2020, you and Frank, it came down to decisions on Sunday, and just a little bit better on that day. And it's weird that he wins 4 out of 7 days, but I still win, not only tie, but I actually get a winning week. And the feeling is amazing, man, because I'll say it again, I truly did not expect this group of guys compared to some of the other team, like Bobby Russo's insane offense, like Jimmy Dunlap had an insanely complete team top to bottom. Mike Haber, a lot of these teams on paper were better than these, but you don't have to be the best team. You have to be the hottest team and have a good manager to figure out the rest. And it just worked out that I had the matchups in my favor. I had the tiebreaker against you. I had the tiebreaker against Costas. And these were guys that I had a team that could compete against with.
Jason, get in there. Ask him what do you got for Ben this season, man? It's
Yeah, well, and I do just want to quickly hats off to Costas for his amazing season, and
absolutely.
what he went through, and you mentioned being second year manager, making it all the way to the finals. So hats off to Costas. And he me and him chatted throughout the week, and this was something that you know having never been in the finals myself, wonder how you handle um, that final week of the Major League Baseball season. You have guys who are being rested, being pulled, being starters coming in as relievers for playoff team contenders. Things aren't normal in that week in the world of baseball. That's got to throw you off as a fantasy baseball manager.
Yeah, it's something that I was only considering towards the end of the week. Like in the beginning of the week, I felt like I was just, most of my guys were either playing for something or not playing for anything at all. And from my experience, like those guys, if they're higher paid players like a Machado, they're gonna play. They're just so.
But like you mentioned, on Sunday he was pulled, right? So like,
so was Harper.
and yeah, so, and those were guys, the Padres, I think that was like, wasn't that a blowout game?
Yeah, the Giants.
Yeah,
yeah, 11-4 final.
Yeah, so so he got pulled. So it's like, okay, if he didn't get pulled and had all 4 at bats, maybe he strikes out 2 more times.
Yeah.
You don't know, but like those are the things that like you just can't plan for.
No, you can't. You can only do the best based on like your assumption. And I kind of these kinds of things just I'll sadly say, like, they didn't cross my mind as much. Like, I didn't think Harper was going to get pulled mid-game. I didn't think Machado was getting pulled mid-game. I figured Crawford was going to play because that team needed a win to potentially play on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So that these things just, I guess, maybe it's just like an oversight by me, but it just, they weren't in the front of my mind. They really weren't.
And it's not even just the hitting, but even like you had Keuchel on the bench, but he came in relief towards the end of the week, and so that's something to think about. That if you're if relief appearances are close, maybe you throw in a starter who who is on a team that is pushing for the playoffs and might need to throw a guy out of relief. Chris Sale's a guy who's done that in the past.
Right. Now, so I looked ahead and I saw that Keuchel didn't have a start the rest of the week, which I found unusual because he started on Monday. And I was like, well, he's not going to start the rest of the week, like not even on Sunday. Okay. But I kept him on the team in case there was a change. And for whatever reason, he would need to start. And for whatever reason, I might need to start him. It turned out that I didn't. But I didn't want him in there in case that happened, because like a relief appearance and he does get tattooed, like then I might be in trouble. Right. So I'd rather stick to relievers that I've seen them throw bullpen, like I've seen them do it like based on their numbers. I had a similar thing that happened on 2019 where Tanaka had an insured relief appearance on Sunday, and I benched him anyway, knowing that he was going to have a relief appearance, even though Mike Haber could have caught me there, and he ended up getting the loss. He ended up being bad.
Yeah.
So like, it was just, I mean, it was just one of those things that it just worked out for me, that I was going to stick to the bullpen that I was comfortable with. And just to echo your words, man, like Costas played an incredible season, and he played an incredible final. He played an incredible playoff. He's an amazing manager. And when I can confidently say this was the toughest matchup I've had this season, and it happens to be the final week, you know that that other guy on the other side is the reason why.
Sure.
He had me very emotional the whole week, and it's because he played so well. And I don't really blame him for a lot of the decisions he made, like playing an Alex Cobb. Like obviously you're going to start Sale and Wheeler and these guys that might not have brought him the numbers that he had earlier in the season that was helping him. But as far as his management, I can't look and say like, why the heck did he do that? You know, there was really
Not this week.
never. No,
No.
there really
Like
wasn't.
we've seen it in weeks past where he blows a move on a guy after the game's already started, or
Right.
has picked up a guy one day and then dropped him the next after being on his bench and he
Right.
never was in the lineup to begin with. Like we've seen that. This week was about as good a week out of Costas as we've seen all season.
Even like you said, even using 4 ads on Monday, but they
Every
all worked
single
out.
one of them worked. Yeah,
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah.
every one of them worked. Ben,
Yeah.
I asked you this question earlier. You didn't answer it. I'm going to ask you again. Where does this stack against the other 2 championships you have?
This is unequivocally the best there is. I mean, because it's so unexpected, and of course, like the first one in 2006, it's the first one you don't forget your first, and then 2019 being able to stop the juggernaut that was Joe Schubert, and then getting the revenge on Mike Haber after losing to him in the final in a tiebreaker, like that was special. But the way this season went, the ups and downs to figure out a way to be hoisting the championship at the end, it just was so unexpected that this is without a doubt number one for me. And I feel it in such a way that I'm fine in the basement for 5 years. I'll finish 15th for a decade, and not care that much. Like that's, and I'm not saying that I'm complacent going into next year. Like I'm going to try, obviously, but like, if I'm having a bad season, I'm just not going to care as much.
You can rest your laurels on this.
Right. And it would have been so different if I lost this matchup. Like if I lost this matchup, I wouldn't, it's not like, boy, I can't wait till next year. That wouldn't be my feeling. I'd be still pissed and bitter. And I think it would have lasted a really long time. And I texted Costas because he wished me congratulations. And if this went the other way, I obviously would have sent the text. But he was such a gentleman about it. And I was honest in saying, listen, man, like you're handling this a lot better than I would have if I had lost. I would have been really upset about it. And fortunately, now I'm going into next season. Like I can't wait for next season because like there's so little pressure on me. I can do the thoughts that you had, Joe, which is I'm just gonna pick players that I like, or I could just like try new things. I'm still gonna compete. I still want to win. It's still important to me. And obviously your mentality changes once you're in a playoff race or once you're like going for a semifinal. Like everything kind of changes the mentality. But going into next year, it's like if there's a cloud higher than 9, I'm on it. And I'm on it for a long time, for years.
Ben, there's just one thing I have to remind you. You are the champion of the last 2 full seasons. 2020 is what 2020 is, and I will always have it as in my pocket as my 4th title. But going back to back on full seasons is pretty damn impressive, even if 2020 exists. I want to give you all the credit in the world for pulling this off. And now I have to win another championship because I can't have you coming up and tying me, buddy. That's just not a thing. Listen,
Yeah.
I could have gone 5 straight years. My only losses in the playoffs in the last half a decade are to this dude when he wins championships.
Yeah, I guess you could say that I'm your kryptonite right now.
Oh, yeah, you are, man.
Because we've faced each other in the playoffs quite a bit. I mean, my first championship in 2006, you and I danced in the final.
And now 2019, 2021. Yeah, there's a bit of an edge toward the and you beat me twice this season or once this season?
Once.
Like
Just
yeah.
once.
And
Yeah.
like there's a bit of a winning streak on the Ben Nisman side of that rivalry that we'll have to see how it spins forward next year.
Yeah.
Again, yeah, I'm with you guys both. My hat is off to Costas. He had an incredible season, and by the time the week was coming to an end, I know that myself, Jason, and Mike Haber were having a text message conversation so that we did not interfere with you, did not like influence you in any way.
I
But I was
appreciate that
saying,
a
like,
lot.
yeah, absolutely. I said this to them, and I think they echoed the same sentiment. Like when Costas got into the playoffs with the big comeback and the deflating loss from Jimmy Dunlap that left him in a tiebreaker, and then he beats Josh Haber in the first round. We're like, okay, this is a nice little run. It's a pretty little thing. And then he beats Mike Haber in the second round, the dominant regular season. And then I said it out loud. I said, if you could tell me he beat both Haber brothers and Ben in the playoffs, you absolutely deserve to be a champion, regardless of what brought you to the dance. You know, he's not in if Jimmy Dunlap does like one thing different over the final 4 weeks of the season. But it all falls the way it does. And
Yeah.
my hat's off to Casas. This was a hell of a run. This was a hell of a
Yeah.
run.
Yeah, he learned a great deal from his 6 week season the week prior. This was an opportunity for him to get better, and you could just see a manager developing and understanding what works, like what you should never do. You know, the benching of a first baseman, or some of the decisions that he made. He learned from him, and he's just going to
Yeah,
get
and
better.
that's just it. He learned, not only did he learn from his 6 week season, but he learned throughout this season and got better as the season went along. And that's hard to do, you know, in the midst of the war that is a 22-week season.
Yeah. And just going back to the 2 full seasons, it's like crazy how in 2019 the minimum was 37 innings and there were 13 ads. Here we are with 42 innings, 12 ads. Like, this is definitely harder, and the managers that we picked got better. And since then, you know, we added Costas, and we added Mike Mazzetta, and we added Brian Lebo. It just made it more competitive. It's just knowing that I was able to work through the new format with this competition. I said, and you know, I don't mean to toot my own horn when I said like that the champion of this year will be the most deserving champion that we ever had, because it's the first full season with a 42 inning minimum and 12 ads.
Yeah.
You know, so that's another reason why I just feel so special, because I really feel like I worked and I deserved it based on the work that I put in.
Absolutely.
I think that will about put the bow on the matchup. Ben, do you want to cut the promo now?
Yeah, why not?
Because I tell you what, this is going up on all the new social media.
Oh god.
This is gonna get cut out right here.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
waving
gonna
my
get
hand
cut-
so that I know
it's
where
gonna
to cut
get-
from.
It's going to get cut out because cancel culture might get to this thing, friends. Okay, this is not for all the boys and girls. Let me
Gotcha.
just say
Gotcha.
that.
All
But
right.
it's not. It's fairly tame, but
Let's hear you.
I've been
Benny.
rehearsing this all morning.
All right. I will simply begin this once again as the new reigning, defending, undisputed world heavyweight champion of the Bigs, the 3-time champion, and the 2021 champion, our commissioner, Ben Nisman. The floor is yours.
Oh, that just made me a lot more nervous. All right. So I'm going to cut a little promo, which in the wrestling world is a way of a taunt, or like your own, like,
He's going to talk shit for the next few minutes,
monologue.
folks. That's what's going to happen here.
Right. But before that I'll just say that this is all in good fun. Like, it's meant to be shtick. It's not meant to really like talk crap. It's going to sound like that because it's a promo, but it's not meant to be that. So I hope no one takes it like that. And I'm going to finish the promo with an impersonation of a Southern hillbilly hick saying the word vagina. And that's when you'll know that it's over. Okay, here we
You
go.
got it. I've heard this impression before, but it's gonna be funny.
All right, don't make me laugh.
All right. In fact, I'm just gonna mute so that you won't hear anything from me, Jason.
Good. And if maybe you could clear your camera also. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, there you go. Perfect. When you compete in this league, there are things that are fact, and there are some things that we are not so sure about. What is fact? When you compete in this league, you step into the fire. You feel a whirlwind of emotions. You roll a 16-sided die. That is fact. What we are unsure about, how will I feel at the end of this season? Will I be proud? Will I be disappointed? Will I be champion? This season, I strolled into the fire. My emotions were chaotic. I rolled that 16-sided die. And although the fire was hot, although that fire was burning, when the smoke cleared, when the dust settled, I could not be bested. I'm the king of this league. And like one king named Rodney once said, I will not be arrested. But one other thing is for sure. One other thing is fact. A man that goes through this journey does not do it alone. And I'm not talking about the men on the field. I'm talking about the men in this league. From the Jimmy Dunlaps to the Chris Sleddies, to the Brian Lebos, to the Mike Shermans, to the Barry Nismans, to the Jason Ashbys, to the Jay Ferraros, to the Mike and Josh Habers, to the Frank Bucos, to the Joe Schuberts. The support from these men were unparalleled. You can do it, Benny. Go get him, Benji. You got this, Ben. I could not do it without these men. So as much as I stand against them in competition, today I stand amongst them, humbled with honor and respect. Once again, I could not do it without them. But with that being said, when we come full circle and we do this again, when this league commences again, when we go hand to hand, toe to toe again, and you're searching through free agency and you're hoping you get that waiver claim, the unfortunate thing is the best option is unavailable because player number one is right here. And everyone will once again, now and forever, know that I am the truth. I'm the best player in the bigs, and I have back what's rightfully mine. It's not a belief, it's a fact. It's not a theory, it's a fact. It's not opinion, it's a damn fact. And if you ask who says Benny LeBenz. Virgin!
Oh goodness, what a season. What an incredible season. What a
Awesome.
great promo. We've got 8 more teams to wrap a bow on and finish with yours again, Ben. So let's just get this thing started. I think the first one we're going to talk about here, these are all 8 teams that finished up their seasons in the final weeks. We'll start with the lowest seeded team at the end of all of this. It's Jimmy Dunlap, who takes down the number 10 finishing seed this season. Probably a bit disappointing given the final outcome of things. He also didn't participate very much in the consolation bracket, so we recognize that he probably had a better team than a 10th place finish, but the consolation bracket is what it is. I'll run through his draft, and then Ben, I'll kick it over to you for some talk about his records, and we'll go from there. Let's see. He had the where did he draft? That's right. He drafted like right around me. He had the number 3 overall pick, right in front of me at number 4. So, first round, Jacob deGrom. Second round, Aaron Nola. Third round, Ozzie Albies. Fourth round, Brandon Woodruff. Yohan Moncada, Brad Hand is the first real bust there. Anthony Rizzo, Marcus Semien in the eighth is enormous. That dude's going to have MVP votes. Yasmani Grandal, Marco Gonzalez, Michael Brantley in the 11th. I hated that pick because I wanted him so badly. Anthony Santander in the 12th. Trey Mancini in the 13th. Jock Peterson in the 14th. That is four straight outfielders, and two of them have all three outfield eligibility. Two of them have first base eligibility. That was a hell of a little run there. Chad Green was, it looks like the first reliever off the or second reliever off the board to his team. Bobby Dahlbeck, Eduardo Rodriguez, Tanner Rainey, Chris Taylor was a great pickup in the 19th round, despite almost, I think he had over 200 strikeouts, but he also had a really good season. Adam Wainwright, bet he wished he hung on to that guy in the 20th round. Tyler Duffy, Cal Quantrill, Colin Moran, Brandon Kinsler, Mitch Garver, and Taylor Trammell round out the draft. I think coming out, I think we completely agreed that he had an unbelievable pitching staff and that the offense would need to find some pieces along the way. I think there was certainly that feeling.
Sure. Though I think we all thought that Anthony Santander would have been fine in the round that he picked him based on what we saw in 2020. That guy had a pretty disappointing year when he did play. So that was a guy that kind of failed him, and then understandably he was let go at a certain point. But yeah, I had no problems with the draft, and Jimmy did a good job as far as being patient with the group early, and we'll get into his schedule in a little bit, but in general, you know, he did keep telling me like this group should hit. Ozzie Albies started slow, but the guy had over 100 RBIs.
He had a 30-20 season, like the quietest 30-20 season you ever heard of. That's pretty damn nice.
I'm surprised about the 30, to be honest.
30 homers, 106 RBIs, 103 runs scored, and 20 stolen bases.
And what's
I think that'll get it done.
Yeah, and what's amazing about that is where he batted in the order for a significant amount of time, and that he didn't have Ronald Acuna next to him for how long, and to still collect that many RBIs on the top of the order when there might have been a good amount of times where like the pitcher had a bat nearly in front of you makes it more impressive. I mean, this has got to be one of the best second basemen in baseball.
I was saying before the season started that I thought coming out of this year he might be the best second baseman in baseball. Not true, but close. Jason, how did you see this draft? Where do you see some things that are interesting about this draft?
Yeah, like you mentioned, we've all talked about the three-headed monster that was DeGrom, Nola, and Woodruff coming out of the the top five of the draft, and that was incredible. The Brad Hand thing, look, was this a response to seeing Jansen, Diaz, and Hendricks go off the board to Ben? Maybe that didn't work out, but that's really it. Like as far as like busts, like Santander may have been disappointing, but like as far as busts go, there really aren't any busts like in this top half of this draft. Like it's truly remarkable, like how well he drafted.
I go back to the dropping of Eduardo Rodriguez, Adam Wainwright. Those two specifically weakened that pitching staff. Eduardo Rodriguez didn't have a great year. He had a very good second half, but he didn't have a great season. A 4.74 ERA, 13-8 with 185 strikeouts. Like, it's good enough. When he lost Jacob deGrom, had he had these two guys, he would have been able to weather that a hell of a lot better than he did. And he let go of Wainwright very, very early, because I remember when Mike Haber picked him up and just sort of ran with him. Ran with him all season to his greatest season of his 40-year-old career. He was dropped on April the 16th, added by Brian Lebo, dropped. Jimmy picked him back up, but on May 17th, he dropped him, and that was it. Mike had him from basically Mother's Day on, and had the best year of his career. If this guy was on Jimmy's team, I think it's a lot different, because not only was that guy able to anchor Mike Haber's pitching staff, but again, I go back to when he lost deGrom, Wainwright could have been that replacement.
Yeah.
100%. I guess I can empathize with Jimmy for the drop, not once but twice, because Wainwright going into the league is nothing more than a glorified streamer. You know, you even if you get the good start from him, you say thank you for the start. I need other things the rest of this week, and you're not going to get another start this week, so you can't help me. I got to go get a shortstop. I got to go get a bullpen piece. I got to go get another starter that's going to give me innings. You're not going to be your focal point at that time in that week is win the week, not
Right.
what are you going to do for me 7 weeks from now? I mean, we've all been there, so I don't blame him at all for that decision. We've all been there, and we probably all might have been the guy to drop Wainwright.
Could have been. Very easily
Yeah.
could have been. Let's talk about his head-to-head matchups here, Benji. How did he do against all of us this season?
Well, we also have to remember that he played all 3 consolation weeks, did he not?
Yes.
So these numbers are based on that as well. So they're a little skewed because he didn't compete offensively or on the pitching side, but we'll do the best we
No,
can.
he got a bye in the first round, so he played 2.
Oh, okay. So that's not as bad, but these numbers aren't as ugly if we just looked at 22 weeks. So let's just keep that in mind.
Sure.
8-15 in runs with 1 tie, 8-14 in doubles. Triples, he was at 500, 9-9 with 6 ties. Home runs, 10-11, almost at 500. Same with RBIs, 11-12 with 1 tie. Stolen bases, just over 500 at 10-9. Walks, 10-12, just under 500. In strikeouts for a batter, 13-11, that was good. Errors, just under 500, 9-10. Batting average 9-15, and on base the same, 9-15. In general, didn't really explode in any category against opponents. It was either just under 500, just over 500, and then of course when we look at doubles, runs, average, and on base, 8-15 is 7 under, 8-14 in doubles is 6 under. Batting average 9-15 is 6 under, on base percentage 9-15 is 6 under. So yeah, I guess in general the offense did underperform against opponents.
Mm-hmm. And when you look at his team, you have to point to that as part of the problem. Yohan Moncada in the 5th round did not give him what he was looking for.
Yeah.
He had 263 average, 14 homers, 61 RBIs on a White Sox team that you had a lot higher expectations for, who lost Luis Robert and Eloy Jimenez early, so you'd expect them to have more opportunity because that lineup isn't as deep. Just didn't happen. Just did not happen.
Well said, Joe. Yeah, that does surprise me. Like exactly what you said. The fact that he's on the White Sox, the fact that someone's going to score runs and do things if a couple of their stars are going to be on the IL for 4.5 months. I mean, the fact that the White Sox still won all those games with that guy producing those kinds of numbers is shocking. I mean, I guess it just means Jose Abreu was really carrying the load in some of these other cats.
Yeah. It was Abreu, and that's about it. Like,
right. I'm like,
Andrew Vaughn had a nice season for a rookie.
Yeah, I guess.
Like Grandal had a decent season, but
did he?
He had a better when he came back from injury. He was on fucking real.
Okay. Yeah,
he was insane.
Tim Anderson was pretty damn good.
Yeah.
But also just real quick, just another thought on Jimmy's offense. Anthony Rizzo also, I'm looking had kind of a downish year. Like you think of Anthony Rizzo as on base guy, and he's on base 346. That's one of his lowest on base percentages of his career.
Really?
Yeah, and it just he was, what was that? That was 7th round pick. So that was supposed to be like his big first base guy, and he kind of had a mediocre year. So it kind of speaks to what you just went through with all of his offensive stats.
Yeah, I mean, 27 homers in 2019 with 94 RBIs. This season, total, he had 22 home runs and 61 RBIs. Not exactly what you're looking for out of this guy, but maybe this is just what Anthony Rizzo is going to become now. Like,
maybe
you can kind of count on him to have a nice on base percentage with a lower batting average. I'm going to throw a name out here, and maybe you guys can back me up on this. This is going to be late career Mark Teixeira guy.
Okay.
Going to hit 20, 25 bombs. Going to hit in the middle of probably a decent order if he re-signs in New York. Low batting average, high on base percentage, not a whole lot of strikeouts.
Good glove.
Yeah.
Yeah. You think he's going to be batting leadoff like he was?
No.
I didn't
No
understand
way.
the concept of that, but that's
No
what,
way.
what Aaron Boone would do sometimes.
No way.
But 346 is nothing to sneeze at.
Right.
Like maybe it was low for him, but shoot, Carlos Santana had a 319 on base percentage, and I think going into the year, you would think they would have had somewhat comparable in that department. So.
Sure.
And I realized Santana had a bad year, but Rizzo, yeah, I guess it was just like not what you'd expect from him, but serviceable, like still a serviceable player.
He's a safe floor is what you're going to draft him for. If you draft Anthony Rizzo, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get about a 250 average. You're going to get 20 to 25 home runs. Who knows how many RBIs you're going to get depending on where he is in the lineup, right? But he's going to be an on base
and what team.
Exactly. And he's going to be an on base guy, and he's not going to strike out a lot. I think that's as safe as you can get nowadays. Let's take a look at his pitching numbers, Benny. Let's take a look at the pitching win totals for Jimmy Dunlap this year.
Okay, so 14-9 in innings pitched was very nice. 7-11 with 6 ties and wins. 6-12, even worse in the losses department. 12-10 in saves. That's something I didn't expect. 9-14 in home runs given up. 13-8 with 3 ties and walks given up. 18-5 in strikeouts is very good. 13-10 in ERA. 13-10 in WHIP, and then relief appearances. Probably the best one. 16-6 with 2 ties. Yeah, I mean, it was the 3-headed monster of Woodruff and DeGrom and Nola for most of it, not necessarily in that order, but yeah, I guess in that order because DeGrom didn't really play. But yeah, that's basically why this was good. The wins-loss record surprises me. The home runs given up kind of surprises me that he's under 500 there because he was really smart about knowing like, yeah, you take the innings, you take the strikeouts, I'm going to take walks, home runs, ERA, WHIP. So I think there was probably like some weeks where he just got like blown out in the pitching side, maybe.
Maybe. We're going to have to take a look at that here in a moment, but let's take a look at the totals for the season and where he ranked against the rest of us. The 1,614 and a third innings he threw is dead smack in the middle of the season, or dead smack in the middle of the league. Win-loss total for the season, Ben. Would you think Jimmy Dunlap had a winning or losing record this season?
My assumption is losing just based on the head-to-head numbers.
Yeah, he had a 98 and 101 record, 3 games under 500, 67 saves, puts him just a little bit above the league average. 237 home runs is third from the top, which is bad. That's bad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he gave up the third most. Walks, he is in the middle of the pack, with 506. It's actually 5th from the bottom, which is good. He gave up the 5th least. 1,713 strikeouts. Puts him middle of the pack, which is pretty surprising given all of the wins in that category. A 3.89 ERA on the season, middle of the pack. A 120 WHIP is also rather good. It's top 5 in the league. And finally, 483 relief appearances. Again, middle of the pack. Just middle of the pack. On the hitting side, this is where things are going to get interesting, right? 708 runs. Doesn't sound like a whole lot. It's dead last in the league in total runs scored. 250 doubles, second from the bottom in that category. 23 triples is middle of the pack. Home runs, we're going to see him have 205 home runs. It's 4th from the bottom. 687 RBIs. Is 4th from the bottom. 73 stolen bases is middle of the pack. 535 walks is middle of the pack. 1,169 strikeouts, fewest in the league. Good job. 69 errors is middle of the pack. 252 batting average is 2nd worst in the league. and a 332 on base percentage is middle of the pack. The offense just was not very good, and the pitching is really what carried him. You can't win without hitting the ball in this league. Like, you can have an offense that you sort of patchwork together. We saw the 2019 Ben Nisman team put it together with Kevin Newman and Shed Long and God knows how many other
Avisail Garcia.
Right.
All kinds of weird guys.
Yeah. But you can't be last in runs. You can't be last in doubles. You can't be bad in average and on base percentage. And like, it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And here we are. Let's wrap it up with his schedule. Jason, can you pull that up? Do you have that?
Yeah. So his schedule,
Can we screen share it?
I could screen share it. I just got it up. But Jason, go ahead and run us down this thing.
Yeah, so he takes down in week 1, he takes down a 10-9 win over Bobby. Kind of then goes on a little run here. He takes a loss to Frank in week 2, but then wins 2 in a row against Mazzetta and Brian Lebo, ties Mike Sherman. Then it gets a little weird here. He wins over Mike Haber, then takes a loss to Uncle Barry and Chris Levy. The Uncle Barry loss 13-8 is kind of hurts. Beats me 13-7 and beats Josh Haber 11-10. Then 2 ties in a row against Jay Ferraro and you, Joe. Takes a big win over Ben 16-3.
Yeah.
Loses to Costas. Then 2 wins over Ari and Bobby again. Ties Frank. Takes two losses in a row to Mazzetta and Lebo, and then beats Mike Sherman, and then takes 2 losses in a row to end the season. So kind of a lot of back and forth here.
Yeah, but it sounds like he went over 500 against opponents.
He did, for the most part in the regular season, went over 500. We did have 9 teams finish over 500. He was one of them. Yeah, he finished 220, 204, and 38. It's just the final 4 weeks of the regular season that really crushed him, right? It's this. Yeah. It's 13-7, 14-6, 14-6, and 11-7, 4 out of the final 5 weeks that dumped him from what I thought was almost he was a sure lock in a lot of our opinions to make the playoffs, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. He was in top 6 for a little bit, right? For a while.
For a long time. Time he was in the top 6 and fell out at the last minute, with this loss to Uncle Barry.
Yeah.
Devastating loss.
9-5, 9-6, 10-6. 10-7, 10-8 against opponents.
Yeah, there you go.
With looks like 4 ties.
Yeah,
3 ties, 4 ties. Wow.
Well, thank you to Jimmy for his season. I think if he's back next year, I think he needs to at least get a little bit of a better offense. But there's no way this dude's not going to compete every year.
No, every year too good of a manager. Honestly, man, one of the best managers. He schooled the hell out of me when he played against me. Had me not even sure I knew how to manage in this league. Like, he'll do that to you. Like, if he's one step ahead of you mentally, then he's going to crush you. And that's my opinion of Jimmy. And I think it was just an unfortunate finish to the season. But to me, this is a perennial playoff team every single season.
Agreed.
Yep.
That'll put a bow on Jimmy's season. We thank you for being a part of our league, Jimmy, and we hope to see you next year. Moving on to the number 9 team after this season has ended is Bobby Russo. Ironically, Bobby drafted right behind Jimmy in the draft back in April. Let's talk about his 5th overall pick. Takes Fernando Tatis Jr., then goes Rafael Devers, then goes Vladimir Guerrero, and holy shit, is that offense off to the races. Keston Hero is number 4, that's a bust. Michael Conforto, number 5, that's a bust. Kyle Hendricks, number 6, is that a bust? He finishes
borderline
14-7 with a 4.77 ERA, 131 strikeouts over 181 innings.
It's amazing that he has 14 wins and a 4.77 ERA on a shitty Cubs team.
Yeah, I will say that it's not a bust, but it's not that round. Like, it doesn't warrant that round pickup. Like,
Right.
he's clearly a guy that could have. I'm not saying he would have went. Like, someone else might have grabbed him that round, but he's. I mean, he's a 10th, 11th round pick with those numbers, if that.
Yeah, probably even further down. Austin Meadows in the 7th round, he had 100 RBIs.
Wow.
Dinelson, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Austin Meadows,
Mhm.
234 average, 27 homers, 106 RBIs, 79 runs scored. He was the only position player other than Willie Adames I felt comfortable drafting from the Rays because, other than Wander Franco. Like, I drafted Wander Franco.
Right.
Different story. Dinelson Lamet in the 8th round, that's a bust, especially as your
That's a bust.
SP2. Lance
Yeah.
McCullers in the 9th is good. Rafael Montero is his first reliever in the 10th. That was good until it wasn't. Ramon Laureano in the 11th was good until he got busted for PEDs. Joaquim Soria in the 12th. Kyle Lewis in the 13th is disappointing, but the Mariners are going to get that guy back next year. That's going to be an interesting team to watch. Zach Eflin in the 14th, probably also a bust when you think about it. 4-7, 4.17 ERA, 99 strikeouts, 105 and 2/3 innings. It's like half a season, and an ERA north of 4. That doesn't sound very good.
Yeah.
CJ Cron.
The ERA doesn't bother me as much as the innings.
Yeah.
The fact that he didn't play as much.
Yeah. CJ Cron in the 15th. What if I told you that CJ Cron hit 280 with 28 homers, 92 RBIs, and 70 runs scored? Nice.
And probably the majority of that came in the second half.
Or it came in Colorado because he was just absolutely ridiculous at home. 19 homers, 68 RBIs, a 326 average, and a 412 on base percentage at home.
Oh my God.
Gross. Mike Myers, not the serial killer or the Austin Powers actor, but in fact the reliever on the Angels in the 16th round. Victor Gonzalez in the 17th. Yusmeiro Petit in the 18th. Stefan Crichton in the 19th. Jesse Hahn in the 20th. Are we seeing something? He just built a bullpen in 5 rounds.
Yeah.
But none of them were good.
No.
Like, you would think if you do 5 in a row, you're going to hit on one of them. Not a single one of those guys was good.
No.
Buster Posey in the 21st, though. Good pick.
Best pick of the draft. Best pick of his draft as far as value.
Yeah. J-Hap in the 22nd, Tanner Houck in the 23rd, Starlin Castro, Randall Grichuk, and Ahmed Rosario round out his draft. Rosario had a good season. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I'll say.
Grichuk had a nice season, too.
Yeah, I'm wondering, like, at what point or for what reason guys like Rosario got cut and Crone got cut from his team. There must have been he needed something else on that particular day.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, and when you're playing Rafael Devers, Vlad Guerrero, and Fernando Tatis, like, that's your infield. That's you're not probably owning another shortstop at that point, right? And that's what Ahmed Rosario is. In fact, he didn't even draft another shortstop eligible player other than Ahmed Rosario. So, yeah. Let's take a look at his matchups against opponents, Benji.
Sure, I would love to. Before I do that, can I just throw in that Mike Myers is not a serial killer. He is a horror film villain or axe murderer. He's not a serial killer, which makes a decision on how he just kills anyone. Okay? This is the opposite of a serial killer.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Yes. How apropos. Anyway, Bobby Russo was 13-11 against opponents in runs, 13-8 in doubles, 4-12 in triples. He didn't like that category.
Nope.
14-7 in home runs with 3 ties, not a surprise. 14-9 in RBIs. 12-6 in stolen bases with 6 ties. That's, it's 2 for 1. 16-7 in walks. Amazing. 11-13 in strikeouts, just under 500. Yeah. Errors. We knew he had one of the worst defensive teams in our league. 5-6
ever in our league. This was a horrible defensive team. 5-16 against opponents with 3 ties.
And then here's where it gets good. In batting average, he was 16-8. On base percentage, 17-7. I mean,
that relentless offense.
Relentless. And in all facets, like being 16-7 in walks, 13-8 in doubles, like 2 for 1 in home runs, 14-7, 14-9 in RBIs, like basically steals. I mean, basically everything coming at you offensively.
I mean, he's got what could be both MVPs this year in Tatis and Guerrero on this team and didn't make the playoffs. Yeah. Insane that happened. And the guy he drafted in between him is probably my number 1 third baseman off the board next year, who only hit 279 with 38 homers, 113 RBIs, and 101 runs scored. You hit those 3 picks, you should make the playoffs. And you hit that well in your first 3 picks, you should make the playoffs. Why didn't he? Let's talk about the pitching side, Ben.
All right. Well, and also what's fascinating is not only did he not make the playoffs with those two players also with their teams did not make the playoffs. Anyway, so in innings pitched, he was 6-15 with 3 ties. That's not pretty. In wins, he was 9-10, just under 500 with 5 ties. Losses, 12-5 with 7 ties. Saves, not much of a bullpen for saves, 6-14 with 4 ties. Home runs given up, 13-8. Walks given up, 14-7, even better. Strikeouts, here's a weird one, 1-20 with 3 ties. 1-20. I've never even heard of that for strikeouts. 11-11, right up the gut in ERA. 11-11 with 2 ties. Whip 8-14. It's kind of strange that ERA was 500, but Whip he was so much worse. And relief appearances 11-9 with 4 ties. How are you 14-7 in walks given up, but you're so much worse in Whip 8-14 and 11-11 ERA? This is just
because here's why. He had a bunch of pitchers that pitched to contact. He did not have a high strikeout rate. And all of these guys that pitch to contact, you're going to have a lot of hits off of them. Kyle Hendricks is a perfect example of what his season was. Kyle Hendricks, Lance McCullers, Carlos Rodon, even to a lesser extent. Like, those 3 guys, they're much more pitch to contact ground ball guys versus the high strikeout totals that we see. And that's exactly why we're looking at a guy who went 1-20 in strikeouts. Let's take a look at totals and how he matched up against us this year. Where is he at? 510 relief appearances is 3rd in the league. A whip of 1.29, 3rd worst in the league. An ERA of 4.03 is just under middle of the pack. 1,276 strikeouts, 2nd worst in the league, only to Uncle Barry. Walks 468 given up is 2nd best in the league, behind our champion. Let's see. Home runs, 172 home runs given up, 2nd best in the league. 45 saves is middle of the pack, but there's a lot of teams that didn't just flat out didn't have closers this year.
Yeah. Sorry.
So
no, you're not.
Between you and Costas and
yeah,
Mike Haber, that's it. Like, those 3 really dominated.
And Jay Ferraro, I think.
Right. Do you think Mr. Russo had an above 500 or an under 500 win-loss percentage or win-loss record?
Based on seeing that he was really good in losses, I'll say he was over 500.
He was 21 games over 500, 96-75 on the season. 1,351 and 2/3 innings pitched is 3rd worst. But if you're getting to the minimum and you're winning some categories, that matters. The problem is that we just didn't see enough of it. And when you have low strikeout rate guys and you're only pitching to the minimum, you're going to lose strikeouts a lot.
Right. Is there is that win to loss ratio, that percentage, the best in our league?
It looks like it might be. So I went 25 games or 26 games over 500.
Wow.
Yeah. 117-91. That looks like the best. Oh, no. Josh Haber, 128-85. It's
Yeah.
almost 40 games over. That's a winner right there. That's a winner
Yeah.
right there.
That's disgusting.
That's gross. The hitting side is where things are going to be really fun for us to talk about Bobby's team. Let's start with the runs here. He, in fact, is fourth best at 846. 284 doubles is fifth best. Only had, for the entire season, 11 triples. The whole season, 11 triples.
Mm.
That was dead last. 275 home runs, paced the league. 841 RBIs, paced the league. He was 30 RBIs more than second place, which was Uncle Barry.
What about home runs? How far
He
was
had
second place?
11 more than Mike Mazzetta. 76 stolen bases was dead smack in the middle of the pack. 582 walks, third best. 1,286 strikeouts is not that bad. That's middle of the pack. The 112 errors is not only the most in this league this season, it is the most in this league ever. It is a record for most errors in a season. He finishes 17 errors more than Ari, who finished second worst. A 269 batting average paces the league. It ties with Mike Mazzetta for the best batting average of the league. A 346 on base percentage, best in the league, 5 ticks better than this guy right here. It was a really great offense, but much like we looked at with Jimmy Dunlap, you can have a great pitching staff, but you have to hit. You can have a great offense, but you have to pitch.
Yeah.
And these guys, it's not ironic that they ended up in the same matchup in the final week in the consolation bracket, because if you put these two teams together, it'd be unstoppable.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at Bobby's schedule. I'll bring it up here, Jason. You can run it down for us. Where there he is. All right, and share the screen. It's an interesting one.
It is. It is. He starts the season off kind of rough shape. 2 losses in a row, including a big one to you, Joe, 15-5 in week 2. Comes back with a win over Ben, but then takes another loss to Costas, and then beats Ari big 15-4, then loses to Jay Ferraro 13-6, then goes on a little winning streak here, beating
a
little. This was what should have made him make the playoffs.
This is insane. This streak.
Yeah. I mean, winning over Frank, Mazzetta, Lebo, takes a loss to Mike Sherman, but then beats Mike Haber, beats Uncle Barry, beats Chris Levy, beats myself, beats Josh Haber. And like mostly, like the win over Chris Levy, 15-6, like there was some big ones in here. Takes a loss to Jimmy Dunlap, and then comes back and wins 3 more in a row. Beats both of you and Costas, but then loses his last 3 of the season to Ari, J, and to Frank. Especially those last 2 were kind of, especially the one to Jay was a big dump trucking.
Yeah. We talked about it this season that Bobby was the most consistent manager week to week, where you would expect him, if he's going to win, he'll win. And if he's going to lose, it's not going to be a terrible loss. Coming into the final weeks, it was pretty much understood that Bobby had put together a really nice season. And the fact that he was still in the fight, like the fact that he was still fighting for a playoff spot, despite losing once, twice, what looked like 3 times in what was the previous like 12 or 13 weeks.
Yeah, it was 11 wins in 13 weeks.
Yeah.
I just did that.
Yeah.
I mean, to go 11-2 in 13 weeks, and he went 13-9 for the season against opponents.
Yeah.
I mean, I could understand.
There was that period of time where he was like, we kept talking about him being in the island, right? He was that 7th, 8th spot in the standings, just like kind of like in his own little world, and then he started moving up into the rankings, and then that last 3 weeks of the season kind of burned him.
Yeah.
If he wins against Frank in week 22, he's in the playoffs, and Costas isn't, and it's a whole different ball game.
No, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
But
Yep.
Frank plays spoiler. Jay makes sure that he has the opportunity to play spoiler. And not for nothing, getting a loss to Ari Nisman this season,
Hurt.
that hurts. It sure
Yeah,
does. It
yeah.
sure does.
Especially after he beat him 15-4 earlier in the week or in the
Right.
season.
Yeah.
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 Like I said, 11 wins in 13 weeks. And I think it was like 8 wins in 9 weeks at one point, and 13 and 9. I mean, those kinds of numbers should put you in there. It clearly got him over 500. And it was a great manager that started kind of slow. So like he started 1-3 to opponents, and then 2-4 to start until he went on that streak. So like there was a slow start that he needed to catch up, but there was, I guess, a little bit too much to overcome by the end. But it came down to the fact that like he couldn't lose that badly to Jay Ferraro. Like he needed to salvage a couple of more stats.
I think the phrase that you used at that time in this group chat with us was Bobby needs to make lemonade, and he did not. He sucked a lemon that week because it was bad, and all of a sudden Jay was contending for your number 2 spot.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope that Bobby has learned something. This is a brilliant mind. I've watched this dude be absolutely incredible at this and fantasy football for over a decade now. And look, he put together an unbelievable offense. And if he had even some semblance of a pitching staff, he would have been a really dangerous team to face in the playoffs. Yeah. And I have no doubt he would have made it. Defense too, yeah, that's another good one.
Yeah.
We'll put a bow on that.
It's his 4th season with us. He joined us in 2018, made the playoffs in 2019 with that miraculous ending, and then lost to you in the first round. 2020, I think he lost every week, actually, went 0-6.
Yes,
but
he did.
That's what 2020 was. And then he comes back and has another fabulous year. He was how many over 500?
His final record was 215, 208, and 39. So we're talking about 7 over.
Seven over is great. I mean, that's good. I mean, he gets better. He learns more. He understands how other opponents manage, and he plays around that. He is brilliant. He's a great manager, and we're going to be talking about this guy, Jason Ashby, the Jimmy Dunlaps, the guys that are going to be running up in the playoffs.
No doubt.
Conversation for many, many years.
No doubt. That puts a bow on Bobby's season. Bobby, we thank you for being a part of this league, and we'll see you next season. That'll move us on to the number 8 finisher this season, Brian Lebo. Brian Lebo had himself a run to the end here and just came up that short as well. We have 3 heartbroken managers. We've covered 2 of them already that missed the playoffs. Here's number 3 in Brian Lebo. His draft, he drafted 13th overall in the first round. Goes with Shane Bieber. Is that a bust?
Yeah, I would say so.
7-4, a 3.17 ERA, 134 strikeouts in 96 2/3 innings. He basically had a similar season to Jacob deGrom in totals, but yeah.
Not what you want from first round pick. Yeah.
Right. I mean, these aren't bad numbers. They're not bad numbers at all. It's just you didn't get enough out of them.
Yeah.
Trevor Story drafted number 2. On a walk year, 251, 24 homers, 75 RBIs, 88 runs scored, 20 steals.
It's not terrible for a second round. It's not, I don't know if it counts as a second round, but it's not a bad.
It's not a bust, but it's not what I think you would expect. Starling Marte in the 3rd, he traded him away very early. Yeah. Blake Snell in the 4th, that's another bust. Blake Snell, 4.20 ERA, 7-6, 170 strikeouts, and 128 2/3 innings. Not great. Kenta Maeda in the 5th, it's another bust. It's 4.66 ERA, 6-5 with 113 strikeouts in 106 1/3 innings. This was supposed to be the 3-headed monster that we were looking at when we saw that Jimmy Dunlap had done what he did and what Jay Ferraro did. We saw 3-headed monsters, and we're like, okay, who's going to be that guy? This was very obviously the worst.
Yeah.
With Bieber's injury, Snell's inability to pitch in the NL, and Maeda's just coming back to earth. Ketel Marte in the 6th, great player, but again, injuries. injuries. He only played like less than 100 games. Tommy Pham in round 7, not great. A 229 batting average, 15 homers, 14 steals. That's nice, but just didn't get what you expected.
Average is duty for
Yeah.
what you expect from that guy.
Right. Eddie Rosario in the 8th, 259 average and missed a lot of time. Will Smith, not the rapper or the catcher, but the pitcher, who got traded midseason. Josh Bell, who, Ben, I'm going to ask you this question. Josh Bell or CJ Crone next year? I'll read you Josh Bell's line here. 261, 27 homers, 88 RBIs, 75 runs scored, 65 walks. Him or CJ Crone next year?
Are we saying that CJ Crone is in Colorado again?
He is. He signed a 2-year
He is.
extension just the other day.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's a great question. Who struck out more?
Crone.
I'll go with Bell.
Yeah. It's pretty close, though. And, like, I don't think we realized that Josh Bell almost hit 30 homers and drove in 100 RBIs this year.
Yeah.
Go figure.
And he has left field eligibility now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's big.
Josh Donaldson in the 11th had a pretty surprising season himself. 26 homers, 72 RBIs. If the lineup were better, it would have been a better season. Max Kepler in the, what the hell round is this? The 12th round, 211 batting average. That's a bust.
That's big.
Tristan McKenzie in the 13th round. Not good. 4.95
Good
ERA, 5-9. I get the idea of drafting.
Good idea in theory.
Yeah, and he was good at the end of the season, but
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
not during it.
James McCann in the 14th round. He traded him to me. David Price in the 15th. Alex Reyes in the 16th round. Probably a homer pick. Pretty damn good. Just got traded twice.
Yeah.
Like before the first month was out. Adam Kolarek in the 17th didn't pitch a whole lot. Miguel Sano in the 18th is bad. TJ Antone, injury. JD Davis, injury. Zach Britton, injury. Trevor May, pretty good.
And he held on to this
The
guy
whole year.
all season long.
Yeah.
I was
Shocking.
impressed by that.
Yeah.
Shocking.
Because, I mean, May had his moments where he was really bad. He had a
Yeah.
couple of weeks where he was absolute duty, and he just held on.
And he
to
was
it.
never going to be the closer, so like
No.
you're only banking on relief appearances.
Yeah.
And strikeouts.
Frankie Montas in the 23rd round. He was a meme in 2019 because everybody was getting him offered. This season, not bad. 13-9, a 3.37, 207 strikeouts, and 187 innings.
That's
Pretty-
amazing.
That's
for
pretty
that
damn
round.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really good. I didn't think that he threw to that kind of ERA. 337?
337.
Wow.
337.
So the-
Him and Mania are the reason that they were in the hunt. Him because
Yeah.
and Bassett to a lesser extent. Tommy LaStella in the 24th round, injury. Josh Lindblom in the 25th round. What the fuck happened to that guy? He had a 9.72 ERA across 16 and 2/3, and they had better options in Milwaukee.
Josh Lindblom. I went to Hebrew school with that guy for sure.
Oh, right, right.
Yeah, that's where he went.
Finally, he finishes out his draft with Willie Castro, the versatile infield and left field option from Detroit. I don't like this draft at all, guys.
No, it's
No.
awful. It's awful in general. But like we said, like there were some of them we thought like, okay, McKenzie, where you got him, Blake Snell, where you got him. Like these are just things that were just unfortunate. But with that being said, he was able to turn Starling Marte into Paul Goldschmidt.
Mhm.
That was a big help during the season.
Yeah.
He also got Will Smith for Will Smith. I think the catcher is the better option here. There were a few trades that he put together. He got AJ Pollock from me for basically a handshake and a smile.
And look, getting Goldschmidt allowed him to trade Josh Bell to me for Jonathan India, who was probably the rookie of the year.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so
And Brian Lebo has said, like, championships are won on free agency, championships are won through the trade, but you have to you can lose your chance at winning a championship in the first couple rounds of the draft, and Brian certainly shot himself in the foot with the first 5 he went through.
Yeah.
But you can still dig yourself back into this, and we saw it very early on that Brian was down to the bottom in 14th at the lowest early on in the season, climbed all the way back to be in contention in the final week. Let's look at his head-to-head matchups here, Benji. What are his records?
All right. So for runs, he was 12 and 13 against opponents. Doubles 13 and 10. Triples 7 and 10. Home runs 12 and 10. RBIs 500 with 12 and 12 with one tie. Stolen bases 13 and 8 against opponents. That was really good. Walks 14 and 9. Strikeouts for a batter 18 and 7. That is the
really
best
good.
one amongst them all. Errors 13 and 7. Good defensive team. Batting average 11 and 14, and on base percentage 12 and 13.
I know that toward the end of the year, he was really, really complaining that his team just wasn't hitting. I remember that distinctly. How about on the pitching side, Benji? Where are we at there?
Innings pitched 16 and 8. It's not that surprising. I think that's based on what he was doing early in the season.
He was streaming a lot of guys
a lot.
throughout the season. Yeah.
10 and 12 in wins, 10 and 11 with losses, 4 ties. In saves, 4 and 14 with 7 ties. Could point to that maybe him being closer to a playoff spot if maybe he had a little bit more of a bullpen, but that's just speculating. Home runs given up 7 and 12 with 6 ties. Walks given up 4 and 19 and 2 ties. 4 and 19 and walks given up. That was based on his streaming. Same thing with the home runs. Right. Strikeouts 2-1. 16 and 8. 1 tie. ERA is 11 and 13. WHIP is 9 and 15. Relief appearances 7 and 15. These are all pretty bad. I mean, ERA is not horrible, 11 and 13, but 9 and 15 in WHIP, 7 and 15 in relief appearances.
Well, I remember he was streaming all those guys, and a lot of them weren't working.
Right. Yeah. We saw that very early, that he was just absolutely shooting himself in the foot day after day, throwing pitchers out there who were just getting bombed. And when you add in the fact that Maeda's getting bombed and Snell's getting bombed and Beaver's hurt, you're not doing very well. Let's take a look at his totals here. His 1,795 innings is second best to Costas. Costas obviously had a couple extra weeks to scrounge up some guys where Brian didn't. Benny, was he above or below 500 in his win-loss?
Wow, that's a tough question. I'll say that he was over, but probably not by much.
104 and 105. He's 1 game under. Ironically, he's 1 game over 500 in the league. He finished 212 and 211 on the season. 23 saves is awful. It's second worst to Frank. When you're underneath Ari, who had 36 saves on the season and didn't have a bullpen, it's a bad year in your bullpen.
Frank was last, even though he had all those closers.
He traded 7 closers this year and finished last in saves. Yes. 249 home runs given up is worst in the league. It's to be expected when you stream all those pitchers. 666 walks. That's the mark of the beast and worst in the league. 1,828 strikeouts. That is second best to Costas as well. 4.22 ERA from Mr. Lebo is third worst in the league to only Mike Sherman and Frank Bucco. The 1.28 WHIP is fourth worst in the league in front of Bobby, Mike Sherman, and Frank Bucco. And finally, 444 relief appearances. That's about 5th worst in the league. So the pitching just was not there for him in a lot of aspects, unless it was the counting stats of strikeouts. I guess wins. 104 wins is pretty good, but innings as well.
What's interesting is, like, everything is an extreme. Like, you didn't say middle of the pack once.
No.
In that run. Nope. Everything was either best or worst.
Best or
worst. Right.
Yeah, and it's just goes to show that, like, that strategy of trying to just boat race in innings to get strikeouts, like,
it's outdated.
It is. There are some times where you got no choice.
Right.
And that's because like, my ERA is effed on
Yes.
Monday or Tuesday. So what else can I do?
Yeah.
So
But to do that in a matchup where you're throwing to a 3.5 ERA and trying to like also boat race, that's outdated. Like that's
no, that's
just
not
not
a
going to work
smart
anymore.
decision. No, that's not a smart decision because you lose more stats by going for it than you win. You only potentially win 3,
Mhm.
and wins, that's the one that's kind of up in the air. You don't necessarily grab that. There's more to be said of being, at least in my opinion, conservative and not saying like I got to throw this guy on a Monday or a Tuesday. Like let me bench him and then see what that guy does. Maybe he
Mhm.
makes the first mistake.
It's a lot easier to play that strategy when you have unlimited moves. I won a championship with that strategy, but when you have unlimited moves. See, when you have to delegate your moves to that is a much different story.
Right. Because you leave yourself naked potentially later in the week that you can't go for relief appearances now
Yeah.
or
Or you can't go to
RBIs.
innings. You can't get any more innings you're if you're streaming guys early in the week and then they don't come back or they're bad for you or your opponent is also doing the same thing. So let's take a look at his offense here. 764 runs scored, fifth from the bottom. 282 doubles. Hey, look, that's middle of the pack. 21 triples on the season is middle of the pack as well. 214 home runs is fifth worst in the league. 703 RBIs. That's fifth worst in the league. 95 steals on the season, fourth best. There were 3 guys who had 120 or better stolen bases on the season: Costas, Frank, and Mike Haber. Those 3. Lebo's the next one with 95. 570 walks on the season, middle of the pack. 1,208 strikeouts. That is also middle of the pack. 63 errors is best in the league. That is the fewest in the league at 63 RBIs. Good defensive team.
3 errors.
Yeah.
You said RBIs.
255. I'm sorry. A 255 batting average is fourth worst in the league. A 339 on base percentage is pretty good. That's fourth best. So he can walk and he can get on base, but he couldn't hit. And it's just not going to get it done. Like,
Yeah.
he managed his way to get to where he was.
Absolutely.
The manager was better than the sum of the parts on this team.
Yeah. And we'll get into his schedule now, but he went on a really nice streak starting from week 11. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Jason.
Let's talk about this, Jason. I'll pull it up here for everybody to take a look at.
But before that streak happened, he had a rough one early in the year. So he won week 1, but then lost 4 in a row. And I just did the math. And, these 4 losses, 7-11, 7-12, 6-13, 10-11, he won 30 out of a possible 84 categories in those 4 weeks.
That's no good. And that explains where he was. He was in 14th at that point.
Yeah. But then, look, things started to turn around for him. He beat Ben 11-8, took a loss to Costas, beat Ari, took a couple more losses to Bobby and Frank, but then things started to really turn around for him. Took a big win over Mike Mazzetta 14-6. And then went on that run. He beat Mike Sherman 16-4, took a win over Mike Haber, beat Uncle Barry, beat Chris Levy, destroyed me. But then the end of the season was a little rough for him, taking a loss to Josh Haber. He did beat up on Jimmy Dunlap, tied with Joe, and then those last 2 losses, to Ben and Costas. We've talked about it. That was pretty much the nail in his coffin.
Right.
Yeah, 11 and 30 over those last 2. That's 19 under 500 to finish the season when it looks like he was going to be joining the party. And it just, I think that at one point it looks like he won 7 out of 9 weeks, something like that.
And I remember distinctly after he lost to Frank, he was really demoralized about that because that was Frank's first win since like week 1 or 2. And, here it is, like Frank's on this really long losing streak and he's like, I'm going to get fine. I just took a really narrow loss to Bobby, but I won a couple of games here. I'm going to beat Frank. And I'm like, dude, Frank's due. He's kind of due for a win here. and he gets a win over Brian Lebo, and Lebo's like, I have to figure this out. I'm going to make the playoffs. I'm going to push really hard here. And it showed in what he made happen. 14-6, 16-4, 10-9, 12-7, 10-7, 14-5. That's a hell of a run.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
it ran out of gas.
And the losses, and Joe, the losses that are sprinkled in there aren't terrible. An 8-11 loss to Jay Ferraro and a 9-10 loss to Josh Haber, and then all of a sudden, boom, another big win over Jimmy, 14-6. So like even the losses weren't so bad if we're talking about only 4 under 500.
Yeah.
So
it's just it's sad that his team peaked just a couple of weeks too early.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about the difference.
Or just a couple of weeks too late.
Right. Rough, but again, this is another guy absolutely 1,000% dedicated to this league, and he didn't make it this year. He made the Final Four in 2020 in his first season. I have no doubt that we'll be talking about this guy as another playoff contender as soon as next season.
Mm-hmm.
All he's got to do is just kind of figure out the draft a little bit better. I think he's got a lot of the aspects of this league down at this point. It's just a matter of getting the draft better than next year.
Yeah, and maybe a little bit more focus on bullpen and how to compete a little bit better in the relief appearances category and the saves category, just so he's not so far under 500 in those stats.
Yeah. That'll put a bow on Brian Lebo's team. Brian, we appreciate your participation in our league. Thank you, and we'll see you next season. That brings us to the next team who finished 7th and won the consolation bracket. It's not the only Ben Nisman is not the only one on this show that won his final week and finished by winning a tournament. My other co-host, Jason Ashby, gets a win here in the final week, takes down the number 7 spot, wins the consolation bracket. Let's take a look at Jason's draft before we dive into his season. Oof, Jason. Francisco Lindor with the number 10 overall pick, 230 average, 20 homers, 63 RBIs, 73 runs scored. Bust. Not the worst bust of the first round, but a bust. Yu Darvish in the second round, pretty good season. 199 strikeouts is really great when you got 166 innings out of him. 8-11 with 4.22. Probably not what you signed up for.
He forgot how to pitch in the second half.
Yeah. Yordan Alvarez in the third round. What a tremendous pick that you traded for Luis Castillo.
That worked out.
George Springer in the fourth. How many games did you actually get of George Springer this year? 78 games. It's less than half a season.
And there were 78 really good games.
It just
wasn't enough. Yeah.
If this guy could ever be healthy for an entire year, we could see some ridiculous numbers. Like 122 games in 2019, he hit 39 homers. 140 games in 2018, he hit 22 homers. 140 games in 2017, he hit 34 homers. Like, this dude's got 40 homer upside.
Yeah.
This is a guy that you would talk about Cooperstown if like the trends continue through his whole career.
And he went from a badass lineup in Houston to a badass lineup in Toronto. So he's always surrounded by a bunch of guys who are going to be on base and driving him in. And so, he should have good numbers.
On the season in only 78 games, 264, 22 homers, 50 RBIs, 59 runs scored, 4 steals. It's not a bad number for a per game basis.
Right.
The problem is you only got half a season out of this guy.
Yeah.
Brandon Lau in the 5th round. By the way, in case we didn't know, Brandon Lau hit 39 homers and 99 RBIs and 97 runs scored, hitting 247.
Incredible.
Absolutely insane season.
Yep.
And you traded him.
No chance I saw that coming.
You traded him and Joey Gallo, and you received what?
Chris Bassett, Matt Chapman, and Taylor Rogers.
You know, that's now. I'm going to go ahead and say that if Frank had held on to those other 2 guys, that's a pretty good trade for Frank.
Yeah.
Like Chris Bassett.
Yeah, it is.
Chris Bassett's
Frank
the
wins
best piece
that
coming
trade.
back.
Yeah. Chris Bassett.
Yeah, the problem is, like, Frank just traded off those pieces the following week. So,
yeah.
Hang on. Brandon Lau had 39 home runs and 99 RBIs. Joey Gallo had 38 home runs and 77 RBIs. He traded away 78 home runs, 77 home runs. Oof, that's rough.
I traded them first.
Yeah, you did. Altuve in the 6th. Tremendous pick. Tremendous pick. It's
Yeah.
best one of your draft, more than likely. 31 homers, 83 RBIs, 117 runs scored with 278 batting average. Nobody believed in this guy because of the 2019 scandal, and you certainly did and found him at the right time. Jesus Luzardo was duty. Wilson Contreras did not have a Wilson Contreras season. 237, 21 homers, 57 RBIs, 61 runs scored, a 340 on base percentage is nice in 128 games. But I think you would have expected that batting average to be better than 235.
Yes, and I wanted more RBIs, but the Cubs stunk, so it it wasn't a good year all around for them. So
Joey Gallo in the 9th round, and you finished out the top 10 with Joe Musgrove here. So I have to say, on paper, I liked this going into the season, right? You've got Lindor and Alvarez and Springer and Altuve and Contreras and Gallo.
Gallo.
It's a stacked lineup, and you've got Yu Darvish, Jesus Luzardo, and now Joe Musgrove. That's a top 3 you can kind of live with. There's no bullpen. No bullpen to speak of at this point. You took care of that with Jordan Hicks in the 11th, Hunter Dozier in the 12th, Giovanni Gallegos in the 13th, so you're locking down the St. Louis back end. Mark Canha in the 14th round, Lucas Sims in the 15th. There's another guy who could have been closing. AJ Puck in the 16th, Blake Treinen in the 17th, Ty France, my friend Ty France in the 18th round. 291, 18, 73 RBIs, 85 runs scored, and a 368 on base percentage. Nice.
I turned that into Brady Singer.
You did. You turned that into Brady Singer. But Brian Levo didn't turn that into anything because he stunk for Levo, and then he dropped him, and then he was great for Jay Ferraro.
Yeah.
Miles Straw in the 19th. I really like that pick. It's a sneaky one. Luis Severino was a stash. Luis Ariz was really nice. Carlos Rodon was really good in the 22nd. That might be the pick of your draft. 13-5, a 2.37 ERA, 185 strikeouts in 132 and 2/3 innings. You turned that into Randall Grichuk.
Did.
Alex Kirilloff is nice. Dylan Floro ended up being the closer in Miami. Jose Quintana was awful, and David Dahl was worse. So your final 2 rounds were bad. Your first 2 rounds were bad. Overall, I like a lot of this, but I think we're going to see a trend here where, and you've said this before on previous shows, you traded your way out of a competitive team this year.
Yeah. I was too trigger happy this year, so that's something that I'm gonna work on for 2022, because really none of them worked out.
Do you know how many trades you made this year?
I think I got to whatever our minimum was. It was 5 or 6, something like that.
It was more. I believe the answer is 8.
Was it 8?
Let's see.
I know my last
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is exactly
8.
the answer.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's run those down real quick. May as well. The aforementioned Matt Chapman, Chris Bassett, and Taylor Rogers return for Joey Gallo and Brandon Lau. You gave up almost 80 home runs and almost 200 RBIs and almost 200 runs scored for Matt Chapman.
But you know what?
Look, on paper, it looked good.
Yeah,
it looked good.
And for a while, look, you mentioned I didn't draft a bullpen, right? So Taylor Rogers was giving me that bullpen, and Chris Bassett was phenomenal for me for most of the year. So
Matt Chapman off hip surgery was not.
Right.
That could have been the really nice third piece, But a 210 average, 27 homers and 72 RBIs is nice, but he struck out a fucking ton this year.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. The next trade was Jesus Luzardo for Nathaniel Lowe and Bruce Gratterall. It's garbage for garbage. We're going to move on. Luis Castillo for Yordan Alvarez. That's the biggest one you want back, right?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Okay. Brady Singer for Ty France. Okay, you needed another starter, and Ty France was probably expendable at the time, given you know what you had on your team already.
Yep.
But Brady Singer wasn't the right guy to go for.
No.
Uh, then you traded away Luis Castillo along with Mark Canna for Andrew Vaughn, Devin Williams, and Drew Pomeranz to me. And Luis Castillo had the amazing second half that he did, and none of these guys really performed for you.
Yeah, I mean, Devin Williams was good when he was healthy. Drew Pomeranz was good when he was healthy, but like Andrew Vaughn was not good. Yeah,
Right,
that did not work.
right. Carlos Rodon for Randall Grichuk. Even at the
That was
time, I thought that you could have gotten better out of that.
that was a case of because I had just lost George Springer again, and that was me going shit. I need somebody. I need somebody that's gonna carry my outfield, and I thought Grichuk could be that guy since he was he was supposed to be carrying the Blue Jays offense, in the outfield. So I figured might as well try mine. But
And Grichuk was good. He hit 241 with 22 and 81 RBIs for you, like, or at least that was his season, right? So
yeah, yeah.
he wasn't terrible. It's just giving up Rodon, who I think everybody and their mother was expecting him to fall off, and he didn't.
Right. I was expecting his arm to fall off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gave up Josh Bell or I'm sorry, you got Josh Bell for Jonathan India, basically a redo for Brian Levo after the Ty France deal fell apart.
Yeah.
He got the better end of the deal this time. I
But
don't
I'm
think
not
either
sad.
one of you got a good deal the first time. I think he got the better deal this time, but it wasn't by much. I think Josh Bell was fine for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then finally, on the final day of the trade deadline, you send Chris Bassett away for Jake Diekman and Gio Urshela. We know the disaster that happened. Bassett gets hit in the face with a comebacker in like the second start for Mike Haber, and Gio Urshela gets hurt before the trade even goes through.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a wash there.
And
But
Digby was terrible.
yeah, he was. Ben, let's take a look at Jason's wins and loss record this season.
It's pretty impressive here. 15-9 in runs, 12-11 with 2 ties and doubles, 11-6 in triples, 11-10 is over 500 in home runs, 11-13 in RBIs, 9-13 with 3 ties and stolen bases, 20-4 in walks.
Nice.
6-19 in strikeouts is not pretty. 12-9 on the defensive side with 4 ties, and batting average 11-14, and then an on base 4-11. Well, the walks were very good, so not surprising that he's over 500 and on base.
Yeah. On the pitching side?
On the pitching side, it's 15-10 in innings pitched, 12-6 in wins with 7 ties, and losses much worse. 8-15 with 2 ties, 9-10 in saves, 10-11 in home runs given up, 14-11 in walks given up. Strikeouts, he was 15-10. ERA, he was 11-14. WHIP, he was 12-13. And then relief appearances, 1 for 2, 8-16 relief appearances with 1 tie.
Jason, where was the weakness? There were a lot of big wins in a lot of categories here. What happened?
The strikeouts were really bad for me. I feel like, Matt Chapman we talked about, but like I feel like everybody was just striking out a ton for me. Other than that, I don't know. I don't know. Even with my poor trading, I felt like I had a decent team.
You were certainly competitive most of the season. Let's take a look at the totals and see maybe if we can get a better picture of what happened to you this year. Innings pitched, 1,691, 5th best in the league. Ben, do you think he had an above or below win-loss record?
I'm going to say below.
Not by much, though. 105 and 109. That's 4 under 500. 52 saves on the season is going to be just under middle of the pack. 216 home runs given up. It's not bad. He's the first person. The top 5 all have under 200, and then Jason's the next one at 216. So he's 6th best. 552 walks given up. Looks like it's still middle of the pack, but it's 6th worst. It's like 10th best. 1,736 strikeouts, fourth best in the league. Very well done there. 395 ERA is middle of the pack. A 1.21 WHIP, also middle of the pack, tied with this guy for, I don't know, like fifth or so, like after you count all the ties. A 412 relief appearances is third worst in the league. The bullpen is really where you were losing out, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's kind of where that trade for Pomeranz and Devin Williams. That's kind of where that came from. And look, I drafted Giovanni Gallegos, and Jordan Hicks with the expectation that one of them was going to be the closer for the Cardinals, and Hicks bombed out, in week 3 or something like that, and Gallegos, he ends up being the closer, but not until week 19 when it doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
He went 9-10 in saves against opponents with 6 ties. I mean, wasn't terrible. It's much better than a lot of the other guys.
Yeah. Let's take a look at the offense and see how you did there. 860 runs scored. That's second best in the league. Third overall because 2 guys had 862, tied for first. 259 doubles on the season. That's toward the bottom. It's actually fourth worst. 25 triples on the season. Middle of the pack. Actually, third best. Third best with 25, tied with Mike Haber. 231 home runs hit, middle of the pack. 734 RBIs, middle of the pack. 69 stolen bases is again middle of the pack. 643 walks on the season. That's best in the league.
Yeah,
that is better than my co-host. That's better than Mike Haber. That's better than everybody else in this league, and it's better by 14 walks over Ari Nisman's second in the league. 1,420 strikeouts. That is worst in the league.
Yeah. Thanks, Matt Chapman.
Go figure.
I think he had all 1,420 of them.
Yeah, Gallo. Well, he didn't have Gallo long.
He had it for the first 2 or 3 weeks, though, did he not?
Yeah, but like over a 22-week season.
No, sure.
Yeah. 69 errors on the season is fourth best. You were tied with Jimmy Dunlap for that. 248 batting average. Not great. Worst in the league.
No.
Worst in the league.
Wow.
And a 332 on base percentage is middle of the pack. So you had a middle of the pack on base percentage with the worst batting average in the league and the most amount of walks.
So
there's the answer offensively. Yeah.
It was walk or bust.
Yeah.
Or a lot of, or it was either a walk or a strikeout. You were 2 of the 3 outcomes.
3 outcomes. Yeah.
Yep. All right, let's take a look at your schedule, Jason. Let's run this down and tell us what you remember from this thing.
Yeah. Well, I do remember taking that first week loss to Mike Mazzetta and feeling kind of like, okay, that stung. I really wanted to win that week. That was a long week, and that was tough. But then I came back with 2 wins in a row, including a big one over Mike Sherman, 16-5. But then the 3 losses to Haber and Uncle Barry and Chris Levy, that stung. I was able to tie Jay Ferraro, but then more big losses to Josh and Jimmy and you guys. We always talked about that gauntlet. I didn't really do well with the gauntlet.
Yeah. You got kind of dump trucked by the gauntlet. The tie to Jay Ferraro is about as good as it got in that gauntlet. Yeah.
Yeah. But then I came out of it with a 15-5 win over Casas and another good win over Ari. But by then it didn't matter. Couple of losses to Bobby and Frank. Then I put a halt to Mike Mazzetta's run with a big win over him, but then they both squashed me the week after that. I beat Sherman, but
for the second time.
The week 19 loss to Mike Haber will be forever the matchup that I will always remember. Like, bar none, best matchup of my Bigs career. That was, even though I lost, it was awesome matchup. So
Ton of close categories.
Mm-hmm.
yes, and up until literally the last game of Sunday Night Baseball, like it was intense. Losses to Uncle Barry. Those are the other things. The 2 losses to Uncle Barry. Those were the Sundays from hell.
Yes.
Against Uncle Barry. So I never want to face Uncle Barry on a Sunday ever again. And then and then I closed it out with that big win over Jay Ferraro, stealing Ben's second place finish.
Yeah, and that got you dinner. Like,
Yeah,
that's a big win right there.
Yeah, feed me.
Jason, we've already talked about you traded yourself out of a contending team, and that's what you got to focus on next year is not having that that quick trigger finger. I think you drafted really well. I think you managed pretty well outside of those trades. Like, I think it's just a matter of going, okay, I like what I have here. Let's stick with what I have here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and let's remember that whether you're competing when you're in the consolation bracket or not, it still exists.
Mm-hmm.
And from where you started going into week 23, there was a goal in mind for you, Jason, and that's that you wanted to have a certain amount of pitchers on your roster so that you could compete in those weeks. And regardless of whether you can make adds or drops, and all you can do is adjust the roster, screw it. You had a game to play and you played it and you won 3 weeks. So like, I think I'd like to know if there's something to be said. Are you at least proud of that accomplishment that after all of this, like you are 7th place in the standings?
Yes. And, for a while, and I was saying it throughout the season, but for a while, we had, there was that group, right? So Mike Haber was in his own planet. And then there was the rest of you guys. And then it was me. And like, that's kind of how I wanted it to finish. Like where I was the best of the not best, and that's kind of how I look at it. And I'm happy with that. Next year it will be better, but this year, this year I'm happy with what happened.
I think it's as much lemonade as you can make with the lemons that you were given. Finishing 7th is look, you won your last 3 matchups, regardless of what the rules were underneath them, and you won a tournament. There's only 2 guys every season that can say that.
Matchups.
Yeah. And there's only 2 guys every year that can say that they won their tournament, and both of them are here on this show. Congratulations, Jason. Thank you for a wonderful season. Thank you for being a part of this show and keeping it alive when I needed it this season. I absolutely can't thank you enough for all you've done here.
Yeah, thank you, Jason.
Absolutely.
Let's put a bow on that one, and we're going to talk about what I think is one of the most disappointing playoff we've seen in a while, but one of the best teams that we've seen in a long, long time. The question is just, now it's going to be, where does this team rank all time? Mike Haber finishes 4th this year. I don't think we had any belief at any point during the season that he would finish 4th. Once he got out of the gates and started dump trucking dudes, it was championship or bust for him, and he even said that.
Yeah.
He didn't even make the finals. He doesn't even make the top 3. Let's take a look at his draft, and we'll take a look at how great his season was, and then talk about what happened in the playoffs. Jose Ramirez in the 1st round, nailed it. Alex Bregman in the 2nd. He was kind of hurt this year. Only 12 homers, 55 RBIs, only played 91 games. It's probably a bust in the 2nd round, but we'll see later on that he's made up for that very easily. Whit Merrifield in the 3rd, terrific. Hyunjin Ryu in the 4th, not the best, but anchored the staff well enough. JD Martinez was a huge pickup in the 5th. Chris Bryant even better in the 6th. Ryan Presley in the 7th is a great closer there. Carlos Correa in the 8th that he turned into whom?
Luis Robert? No.
No.
Looking it up.
Oh, oh,
Jose Barrios.
yeah.
Jose
Yeah,
Barrios
that's
and Andrew
that's it.
Vaughn
Yeah,
for Carlos Correa and Aaron Bummer. So
Yeah.
Carlos Correa is Jose Barrios, which in the 8th round, I think that's exactly where you would take Jose Barrios. Patrick Corbin in the 9th, garbage. Mike Soroka in the 10th, injury. Eric Hosmer in the 11th, he hates him. I don't think Eric Hosmer had as bad a season as people think. He only hit 12 homers. He only drove in 65 RBIs, but a 269 batting average and really good glove at first base. What more do you want from this guy?
Homie, that guy got me to the finals. I mean, I picked him up the week prior.
I think it's one of those cases where he was a lot better for the Padres than he was for Mike Haber.
Okay.
Probably. He played 150 games. Like, you can't ask for much more than this guy. He's durable, and you know what you're getting. But I don't think what you're getting is the 25 and 104 that he hit in 2016. That's just not realistic.
Right.
Jordan Romano in the 12th we all hated, but he didn't close a ton of games. How many saves did he end up having on the season? 23 saves on the season. Most of them, in fact, I think all of them, not on Mike Haber's team.
No, Jay Ferraro.
Yeah.
Anthony Bass was bad. Aaron Savale was good until he got hurt. Aaron Nola was a disaster. Domingo Herman was traded. Andrew McCutchen was traded. Aaron Bummer was traded. And it's the pick of the draft. Is Shohei Ohtani in the 19th round. I'm sorry. This is the pitching side that I just pulled up, but on the hitting side, 257 average, 372 on base percentage, a 965 OPS, 103 runs scored, 46 home runs, 100 RBIs, 96 walks, 26 steals, 103 runs scored. Whoa.
And
that was a hell of a pick.
That's with like a dog shit September too.
Yeah. I will say he did strike out a good amount though, didn't he?
189 strikeouts, yes.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
But I'll still take 40, 45, 25, 100 and 100 if you're going to strike out 200 times a year. I'll take it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
For sure.
Austin
and almost
Riley.
100 walks.
Yeah. Austin Riley in the 20th round would have been terrific if he didn't trade that guy early in the season. Kwang Young Kim, he traded as well. Emmanuel Clase was the closer for Cleveland for a long time. Got him 24 saves on the season in the 22nd round. Jesus Aguilar was leading the NL in fucking RBIs for a long time, and he dropped him early. Carlos Carrasco was a disaster. Cole Irvin, a friend of Jason Ashby's for a long time, was drafted there. And he finished out the draft taking the catcher of Jacob Stallings. Mets fans stabbing ourselves in the heart with that guy. Fuck that guy. Yeah. This was a great draft. Take Alex Bregman away, take the two pitchers of Corbin and Soroka away, and replace them with just mid-level dudes. You've got a really, really great team. He already had an unbelievable season. We will get into it momentarily. Benji, let's talk about his wins and losses this year.
Okay, so in runs, he was 15-6. That's excellent. Doubles 15-9. Triples was 500. 8-8-8.
Nice.
Home runs was 11-10, which is kind of surprising with 3 ties. RBIs 14-9. Stolen bases 18-4. He kick ass in that. Walks 17-6 with 1 tie. Strikeouts 15-8. Errors, we knew that was maybe the one weakness of the team. He was 10-12 with 2 ties. Batting average, he was actually under 500 there, 11-13, and then on base percentage 14-10.
Probably the second best offense in the league behind Bobby Russo, would you say?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Let's take a look on the pitching side, because this was the hard part for him, right?
I don't know. 17-7 in innings pitched, 12-8 in wins, 10-13 in losses. Okay, it's not great, but whatever. Saves 16-5 with 3 ties. Home runs given up was 500, 11-11 with 2 ties. Walks given up 15-7 with 2 ties. Strikeouts 15-9. ERA is 500, 12-12. WHIP 15-9, and then oh yeah, relief appearances 23-1. 23-1.
Yeah. The one that I have to point out, I believe it's not against me in the final week. It was against Costas in the semifinals, if I
No
remember
way.
right. No, it's not. No.
No
He didn't lose
way.
there either.
Maybe to Jimmy.
Yeah.
Was really good in that.
I would have thought it would have been one of those 2 weeks because I thought he went the entire regular season without a loss there, but I digress. His totals on the season, let's start on the pitching side. His total of 581 relief appearances, 70 more than anybody else in the league, including my co-host Ben, who has a huge bullpen. 70 more. The dude dominated the bullpen. A
Yeah,
120 whip. It's middle of the pack. It's pretty good. ERA sat at 387 on the season. That is good for fifth best. It's pretty good. Looks like 1,684 strikeouts on the season. 1,684. It's middle of the pack. Not the best. 537 walks on the season is again middle of the pack. 230 home runs given up. Middle of the pack. 100 saves. Right on the nose. Third best. Do you think he has an above or below a 500 record in win-loss?
I'll say above.
117 and 115, 2 games over 500. I would have expected that number to be better.
Me too.
And finally, 1,739 innings is third best in the league. It was a good enough pitching staff.
Yeah.
But that's about it. Like, Adam Wainwright was his ace. Hyunjin Ryu and Jose Barrios were an okay 2 and 3, but when you run into other, and his bullpen was great. Like, there's no denying
he owned the
was
bullpen.
great. I just wonder, like, Chris Bassett, if he doesn't get hurt, how much of an impact does that dude have in lengthening that rotation toward the end of the season?
Yeah. Well, and that's what he'd been trying to get Bassett for me for weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And, because he knew he needed that another arm.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
All right. Over on the hitting side, this is where we'll see some fun stuff here. 820 runs scored is good for fifth best. 296 doubles is good for second best. 25 triples is third best in the league. 240 home runs. Doesn't sound like a lot. It's fifth best, actually. 794 RBIs is good for fourth best. Stolen bases at 126 is second best, only to Frank Bucco. 577 walks is fourth best. 1,209 strikeouts, middle of the pack. 74 errors committed. That is middle of the pack. 262 batting average is good for sixth best. And a 339 on base percentage is good for fourth best. It's a good offense.
Yeah.
He dump trucked a lot of teams. Let's take a look at the schedule here. This is one of the greatest runs we've ever seen in the regular season. Jason, do me the honors as I share this one up.
Yeah, and again, this is he prides himself over knowing that he won at least 9 categories in every single week. Starting off with a 5-game win streak to open the season against Jay Ferraro, Uncle Barry, Chris Levy, myself, and his brother. And all of those were gigantic wins. He takes a loss to Jimmy Dunlap, but 12-9, not terrible.
That's his worst loss of the season. Is that 12-9 is his worst loss of the season.
And then he'll rebound with another 4-game win streak against both of you guys, Costas and Ari. Takes an 11-9 loss to Bobby. Okay, but then he'll come back and dominate Frank and Mike Mazzetta. Takes a very close 10-9 loss to Brian Lebo. Bounces right back with a 15-5 win over Mike Sherman. Takes a 10-9 loss to Jay, and then finishes out the week with win all the way down. Just
6 in a row. Jesus.
6 in a
Yeah.
row to finish it out.
yeah, just incredible. I
Am I
don't know what else
counting it
we
as
can
am I
say.
counting it as 4 losses on the season? He goes
4 losses.
18-4 in the regular season.
Yeah.
Lost to
That's right.
Jimmy, lost to Bobby, lost to Brian, and lost to
And
Jay
Jay.
Ferraro. That's it.
Yeah, that's
4
it.
losses on the season, 18-4. This is the best regular season we've ever seen. Ben, what happened in the playoffs?
Yes, like Jason said, he won at least 9, and then all of a sudden he finally loses. He only gets 8 in the semis. I'd have to go back and look at the matchup, but I feel like he just ran into an opponent. As I look at this matchup, he ran into an opponent that matched up fairly decently against him, and Mike didn't pitch well. Like, he threw to a 5.55 ERA, and Costas pitched well enough, a 3.63 ERA. Costas went 7-1 wins losses. Mike went 3-7. And I think we could look at that potentially as being the difference, and the fact that WHIP was 1.40 to 1.41 in favor of Costas. That's crazy, but even if that flips, it's still 10-9. It doesn't do it, so one other thing needed to happen. It's just that's fantasy baseball. You could be great for 22 weeks, but that's not how the season goes. Like, you have to be able to finish, and his pitching let him down in this matchup. Presley was awful. Garrett Richards was really bad. Carlos Carrasco had 11.25 ERA in 4 innings.
Wainwright had a bad start.
Wainwright had a really
Savali
bad start.
was dump truck to 37.80. Phil Maton a 135. Eric Fetty was bad. I mean, he was throwing by the end of the week, he was throwing everything he could at the kitchen sink.
Yeah, and the Bubich start on Sunday was really good. It almost seized him, but again, he needed one more thing to happen, and losing doubles by 1, 11-10 in doubles. It's just a team that matched up well against him, and also had closers. Costas threw down 6 saves. Mike threw down 3. 3 is good enough to beat most of us in the league, but Costas was going to match up well in that category, even though he wasn't going to win relief appearances against Mike Haber.
Right.
That's how it just worked out. It was very unusual, very strange. This was Mike Haber's season, but at the same time, I think we all have this hunch that Mike is going to be right back in this position pretty damn soon.
No doubt. He's one of the best minds in this league. You've said it before. He's one of the best day-to-day managers, if not the best day-to-day manager in the league, and his draft was incredible. The deep picks that he was grabbing, the sleepers he was grabbing, and the guys that were slipping down the draft board that didn't belong in the 5th and 6th round, like JD Martinez and Chris Bryant. He's going to do that again next year, and I have no doubt that he'll be a playoff team again next year. Mike, same thing to you, man. Thank you for being a part of our league. Thank you for making it what it is. Thank you for being a part of this show and making it continue when I needed you. My hat's off to you. Terrific season.
Well said. I love Mike Haber. He's so passionate about this league, and he should be damn proud of how damn good he is amongst his peers. He made savvy trades. He made great additions, like you said, and everyone acknowledges that he is one of the best. Despite how it ended, everyone knows that he's one of the best, and he should hang his hat on that.
Absolutely. We're going to move on. It's my turn, boys. I finished 3rd this year. It's the 5th straight year I finished 3rd or better. 3 titles.
Why don't you just go away?
This was the year to do it, Ben. This was the year to knock me out of the playoffs, to end all of the talking, but it's another year. It's another Final Four. It's another 3rd place finish for me. My draft is as follows. Mike Trout, big ol' fucking bust. Right? Anthony Rendon, big ol' fucking bust. Jack Flaherty, injury bust. Javier Baez, 200 plus strikeouts But he did go 31 home runs, 87 RBIs, 80 runs scored, and 18 stolen bases. I'll take it. It's kind of what I was looking for there. Zach Greinke, I think this might be it for him. Like, this was not a good year for him. I didn't like this pick when I made it.
Oh God, I remember that. You did
So
it.
do I.
You click it. I hate that pick.
I hate this pick. I hate this pick. I hate it. But like for a long time during the season, he kind of was my ace when Flaherty went down. He's just sort of solidifying. But like I think toward the end of the year, we might be seeing the end of this. 4.16 ERA, 11-6, 120 strikeouts, and 171 innings. Like he's not much different than Dallas Keuchel right now.
He's been doing this forever.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ian Anderson in the 6th, not great.
Not bad.
I didn't think it was bad. I ended up turning him into Diego Castillo.
Diego.
9-5 record, 3.58 ERA, 124 strikeouts, and 128 innings. He's a good kid. He probably doesn't go in the 6th round next year. He's probably going to go a little bit later than that. Matt Olson, thank you so much for being a man, Matt Olson. The 100th pick overall, 39 homers, 111 RBIs. Yes, thank you.
Your MVP. Yeah.
Loved that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pablo Lopez was having a great year until he hurt his rotator cuff. Franmil Reyes gave me 30 homers in like 120 games. Devin Williams, I traded to Jason. Drew Pomeranz, I traded to Jason. Pete Fairbanks, I would have liked to hang on to this guy, but I had so many injuries I had to cut somebody. Kike Hernandez, kind of the same story. He actually had a pretty nice season in Boston. 20 homers, 60 RBIs, 84 runs scored. I think you'll take that.
Kind of quietly, with Devers and Bogarts and JD Martinez, you kind of forget about him, but yeah, he had a good year.
Yeah. Josh Staumont was a bust. Matt Barnes was great until he wasn't. AJ Pollock, I traded away because I honestly just didn't think this dude had this kind of season left in him. 297, 21 homers, 69 RBIs, and 9 steals. Go figure. Wander Franco, great pick. Loved that pick. Brian Reynolds, even fucking better.
Yeah.
Dane Dunning was not good, but I traded him away. Dylan Cease would have been really good, but I traded him away for nothing. Seth Lugo was an injury stash. Jazz Chisholm was fantastic. Matt Bush was awful. Heimer Candelario I dropped. John Means was really good, and Alejandro Kirk was good after he came back from injury. Honestly, coming out of the draft, I loved this team other than Zach Greinke. I thought I could have done a lot better in the 5th round, but I liked my team top to bottom. What do you guys think?
I thought the Jazz Chisholm trade. I mean, Jazz Chisholm.
Yes,
Jazz Chisholm.
Jazz Chisholm. No, it's Jazz Chisholm.
There was a whole bit on WFAN about that, and how I think it was Eddie Coleman that mispronounced his name and just kept on doing it the other way. But in general, man, you got some guys that are just like, wow, how did he end up getting John Means where he got him? How did he find a way to get some of these guys? I mean, you had a very crafty draft, and you weathered the storm on a lot of injuries, a lot of them.
If my top 3 picks don't all get long-term hurt or end their season, we're talking about this team being really good. Really, for the first, 5 or 6 weeks, I was pacing Mike Haber. And then Trout, Rendon, Flaherty, all just fucking hit the IL at the same time.
Pablo Lopez.
Franmil Reyes went down.
Lopez, right?
Lopez went down. It was like they were picking off my particular team every single week. It was nuts. Let's take a look at my my wins and losses here, Benji.
All right. So for the offensive side, we'll start with your runs, which you are 9-14, 2 ties. Doubles, not much better, 9-13 doubles. Triples, 12-10. Home runs, 12-9 with 4 ties. RBIs, 14-9. Stolen bases, 9-14. Walks, 7-15. Strikeouts, 10-13. Errors was a 500 team, 9-9 with 7 ties. batting average 16-9, and on base percentage 14-11. So even though you were sort of under 500 in most of these, in average and on base percentage, you stayed over 500, which I find very unusual.
Yeah,
and then
it was
home runs, of course.
it was very average and power heavy. I just couldn't score any runs,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Yeah, you didn't have a lot of leadoff guys. So mostly like middle of the and just Chisholm.
Jazz was my leadoff dude,
Yeah,
and
that's it.
that's about it. Yeah. On the
All right,
pitching side,
innings 17-8 in innings pitched, 16-8 in wins, 14-10 in losses. That's good. Saves 12-10 with 3 ties. Very good. Home runs given up 8-14. Walks was 500 and 12-12 with 1 tie. Strikeouts just over 500 at 13-12. ERA was the same, 13-12. WHIP 15-10. And relief appearances was 500, 12-12.
Yeah.
So I find surprising.
I loved my pitching staff this year.
Yeah. That's the one thing I think the managing of your pitching staff, both starters and relievers, was spot on.
It just hurt sometimes when I would get Pete Fairbanks, and there was a week I grabbed Pete Fairbanks and Daniel Hudson and was in love with my bullpen, and then 3 dudes got hurt on it the next week. I could not keep a core bullpen together.
Yeah.
It was nuts. Taking a look at my totals, we'll start with the innings pitched, which is 1,734, good for 4th best in the league. We talked about my win-loss record, which was 117-91. I loved that. 57 saves is just middle of the pack, and that's all I ever try to be there, is just middle of the pack, maybe a little bit better. 238 home runs given up, 2nd worst in the league to Brian Lebo. 566 walks is 5th worst in the league. Strikeouts of 1,710. That's middle of the pack. It's not like it used to be where I could throw to 2,200 strikeouts in a season because I could just stream all week and have unlimited moves. It's just not existing anymore, and I'm adjusting as it goes on. A 3.82 ERA on the season is good for 4th best. A 1.21 WHIP is middle of the pack, and 468 relief appearances is also middle of the pack. It was a pretty good pitching staff. Just a bunch of streamers gave up home runs, and having a deep pitching staff will usually lend that. On the hitting side, my totals probably aren't going to be very good. I didn't like my offense for much of the year because of all the injuries. 785 runs scored is middle of the pack. 257 doubles is 3rd worst. 31 triples, best in the league. All right. 249 home runs hit is 4th best. 792 RBIs is 5th best. 71 steals, middle of the pack. 558 walks, middle of the pack. 1,310 strikeouts. Toward the bottom, it's about 5 or 6 from the bottom. 87 errors is 3rd worst, in front of only Bobby and Ari. 261 batting average, middle of the pack. 341 on base percentage, 2nd best.
Nice.
Yeah. Offense kept me afloat. It just some of it was really bad. There were a lot of weeks where I was striking out way too fucking much. Having Baez and Gallo on my team by season's end was just fuck. I had to navigate that.
And the errors.
Baez.
The
errors. Oh, Baez was a fucking nightmare there, and Jazz Chisholm was bad. Like he was a 22-year-old rookie who would fuck shit up every once in a while.
Yeah, I noticed that in our matchup that Chisholm kind of screwed you over defensively.
Yep. Jason, let's talk about my schedule.
Yeah, and we talked about Mike Haber beginning the season with a bang, and you mentioned it too. You did too. It was what, a five game win streak against Ari and Bobby, Frank, Mazzetta, and Brian Lebo, taking them all down. But then I don't know if this coincides with when injuries started piling up for you.
It's exactly when it started.
Trout,
Trout went down in week 6.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow.
Because then that starts, 2 losses in a row to Mike Sherman, Mike Haber, and Uncle Barry. And the one to Sherman was a double up. You tie Chris Levy, and then beat up on me. But then the loss to Josh Haber, you tied Jimmy Dunlap 9-9. And then you kind of alternated here a little bit with a win over Bobby. You lost to Ben, and then you beat Costas. Then the 4 losses to Ari and Bobby and Frank and Mazzetta, that hurt. And then tying Brian Lebo, and then a win-loss to end the season, including that loss to Mike Haber.
The Mike Sherman win in week 21 absolutely saved my season and put me in the
Yes.
playoffs. Without that, I'm not here. Without that, I'm not in third place. And I mean, that's literally the difference. Every single, I won 3 games after week 6. 13-4 over Jason in week 10, 11-8 to over Jay Ferraro. Oh, I'm sorry, I won 4 times after week 6. 11-8 over Jay Ferraro, 13-8 over Costas, and 15-3 over Mike Sherman. I will say it again, and I will say it loudly and clearly. This team didn't belong in the playoffs after week 6. But I managed my way there. I traded my way there.
Yeah, the team didn't, but the manager did.
Yeah, man. And I said it 2 shows prior, but I truly believe the playoff win against Jay Ferraro to me is the most impressive thing you've done through the history and, dare I say, dynasty that you've created in this league. I mean, that was a very, very good manager, playing like a complete chess match with each other, and you managed 1 extra stolen base than him. You guys tied in home runs 12-12. You guys tied in runs at 35. You know, you were able to keep pace here, basically. And even though, you know, he had a better ERA, it's 4.25 to a 4.50. The fact that you were able to throw to so many more innings, he threw 53 innings, you threw 74. So you kind of trade, okay, fine, you take the ERA, but if I'm going to have that kind of ERA and crush you in innings, you take that. I mean, this was just an incredible playoff matchup that I'm going to remember for a long time.
Well, I was honored that Jay played me as hard as he did. I loved being his first playoff opponent back after his hiatus. And I was very happy to beat him in the first round. I was very happy to make the Final Four for the 5th straight year. I'm thrilled with making it this far. And look, let it continue. Let it continue.
Yeah.
Come knock me off. That's what's got to happen here. Because if this is one of the worst seasons I've had in a long time, and I still finish 3rd, y'all gonna have to come knock me off. Like, there's only one man in this league that's beaten me in the playoffs in the last 5 years. It's that guy. That guy right there.
And we're talking about 9 semifinals in 11 years. Let's all just remember that that's the. I mean, as crazy as the 5 in a row is, like 9 in 11 years might be crazier.
Yeah. Love you guys. We'll keep doing these shows. Let's move on to Costas here. He's the 2nd place finisher this year. What a season for Costas Paragas in his 2nd year in the bigs. Let's talk about his draft. Trey Turner in the 1st round, Adalberto Mondesi in the 2nd round. He went shortstop in the first 2 rounds. Interesting. Nolan Arenado in the 3rd, Gleyber Torres in the 4th, Giancarlo Stanton in the 5th, Trent Grisham in the 6th. That's 6 straight hitters. No pitcher. Zach Wheeler in the 7th. He found his guy. You can do this, but you've gotta hit on your first pitcher if you're gonna do that.
No doubt. Like, that's what's crazy about it, Joe. Like, the guy he could have picked could have been a 500 type pitcher. The fact that the guy he picked is a Cy Young contender, I'm not going to say it was lucky, but it was fortunate.
Chris Paddock was the pitcher selected in front of Zach Wheeler. Jesus Luzardo was the pitcher taken immediately after Zach Wheeler. Other pitchers around that area, Julio Urias in the 8th round might be a great pick there. Dinelson Lamet, Pablo Lopez, Sixto Sanchez, Ian Anderson, Kyle Hendricks, Zach Plesac.
None of those guys are Cy Young contenders.
Yeah. Julio Urias is about the only
right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, it can be done, but you must hit in the 7th or 8th round if you're going to take your first pitcher there. I would not suggest doing that again. because your luck is not on your side to do it again. Eighth round is Reese Hoskins. We have gone over extensively the love-hate relationship that existed there. Alex Colomé in the ninth. Victor Robles in the 10th, who eventually became Cedric Mullins when he dropped him. Great drop there. I don't think the draft pick is very good. Dylan Bundy in the 11th, gross as his number 2 pitcher. Disgusting.
Yeah.
Greg Holland in the 12th. Tyler Mahle in the 13th was a good pick. This dude had a really nice season. 3.75 ERA, 13-6 with 210 strikeouts and 180 innings. Nice.
Yeah. Where'd that come from?
Damned if I know. Hector Neris, Jason's best friend, in the 14th round. Brian Garcia in the 15th. Tanner Scott in the 16th. There's your bullpen.
Brian Garcia?
He was the closer for Detroit as the season began, but he pitched to I don't know, I think a 9-something ERA. His season ERA is 7.55 through 39 and a third.
God.
He was awful. Good. Yeah, he was awful. Victor Reyes in the 17th, friend of Ben Nisman's. Ian Kennedy was a great pick in the 18th round as the closer of Texas and then to the Phillies. Chris Sale in the 19th is pretty damn good, getting an injured ace, but that finally becomes your number 2, really.
Garrett Hampson pays off with that one.
With that one, yeah. Garrett Hampson in the 20th, Jordan Montgomery, who he traded and then got traded back to him in the 21st round. Nate Pearson was a bust in the 22nd. Matthew Boyd was traded away for Will Smith in the 23rd. Matt Whistler, doesn't matter. Yadier Molina in the 25th is pretty nice.
Yeah, that's
Yadier
good.
Molina. And then Roberto Ozuna, he grabbed and stashed in the 26th round. We will not be seeing that guy again. I think coming out of the draft, we had a lot of questions here. Starting shortstop, not taking a pitcher until the 7th. Not
only did he go shortstop, but he went shortstop, third base, and then shortstop.
Yeah. That was questionable, but what I did like is the fact that he did, and obviously I liked the fact that he filled up a decent bullpen.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that getting Stanton was big. That was a guy that I had my eye on. I know you had your eye on, Joe. Other people did. And maybe it was, although he said that he was targeting him anyway, you had Josh kind of in everybody's ear about Stanton in the draft room, the guy, Josh, the agent.
Mm-hmm.
And, but he had his eye on him the whole way. So after this draft was over, I was jealous of certain things that he did on the bullpen side. Having Nolan Arenado, on a new team, I thought was good. In general, I thought he had a good draft.
Giancarlo Stanton had, let's call it, his second best season in a Yankee uniform this year. 35 home runs, 97 RBIs, a 273 batting average, scored 64 runs in 139 games. It's very obvious that it's his second best season in a Yankee uniform. 158 games, a 266 average back in 2018.
2018, his first year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But did you know that Giancarlo Stanton has actually played more games in the last 5 years than Mike Trout?
No, I wouldn't have thought that.
Yeah, go figure. Go figure. Again, it was an interesting draft. Let's talk about his win-loss percentage here, Benji. How did he stack up against
sort of a mixed bag here, Joe? We got 10-14 in runs with 1 tie, 9-14 in doubles, 2 ties. So far, we're going under 500, right? 6-8 in triples with 11 ties. Now it gets a little better. 13-9 in home runs with 3 ties, 14-9 in RBIs with 2 ties. Here's the biggie. We knew he was good at this. 18-3 in stolen bases with 4 ties.
Thank you, Cedric Mullins.
Yeah.
And Trey Turner.
And Trey Turner. Yeah.
Yeah. Part of the reason why he got to that tiebreaker, guys. 4-18 with 3 ties and walks. 4-18 in base on balls. 15-9 in strikeouts for a batter is good. 13-8 in errors with 4 ties is good. 14-11 in batting average, and not surprisingly, 10-15 in on-base percentage. Well, when you're 4-18 in walks, chances are you're not going to be winning on-base percentage most of the time. 5 under 500.
Yeah. It was a very fast team, but to not go over 500 in triples is pretty surprising.
He did go over 500 in triples.
He did?
Yeah. He went. Oh no, you're right.
No.
My mistake.
Yeah. 6 and 8.
Sorry.
Yep.
All right. On the pitching
On the
side,
pitching side.
17 and 8 in innings pitched, 15 and 8 with 2 ties and wins, 9 and 12 in losses with 4 ties, 18 and 5 in saves. No surprise there with 2 ties. 11 and 12 with 2 ties and home runs given up. That's just under 500. Here's an ugly one. 4 and 20 with 1 tie and walks given up. 4 and 20. Strikeouts 18 and 7. Very good. ERA 3 over 500 at 14 and 11. In WHIP 9 and 16. That's 7 under 500. Relief appearances at 500. 12 and 12 with 1 tie. Basically what this team was. It was a just, it was an over 500 team, but it was, it was basically a mixed bag between the offense and pitching.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It was just a bizarre team, and the way it was the way it came together was also a pretty interesting mixed bag. He made 4 trades this year. All 4 of them involved some sort of closer moving. Alex Reyes first for Caleb Barragar and Jordan Montgomery. Lou Trevino next for Yermin Mercedes and Alex Cobb. Will Smith was the third with Jordan Montgomery coming back to him for Tyler Mahle, Matthew Boyd, and Kyle Gibson. All 3 of those with Frank. And the final trade was Hector Neris for Logan Webb. That's the winner right there, right? He won all 4 of these trades. Let's make no bones about it. He won all 4 of these, and he won them by a lot.
Yeah.
Wow.
I wish my trades were his trades. Like, yeah.
That's very rare to slam dunk all 4 and to do it in such a dramatic fashion, drastic fashion, I should say.
Yeah. Just a crazy good. And by the way, Kyle Gibson, that was like one of his best pitchers of the season. He added him off the free agent list. He did not draft him, and in fact, he went undrafted in this draft. He was added April 13th, and he held on to him until June until he traded him to Frank. 3.71 ERA.
Mahle, right?
Yeah, 3.71 ERA, 10 wins, 155 strikeouts, 182 innings. Good.
He made some really good ads this year. Like, Luis Garcia, right? The Astros pitcher.
Alek Manoah.
Alek Manoah, right? Yeah. Tyler Anderson. I remember when he picked up Tyler Anderson, and that guy just went off. Like he made some really good picks.
Yeah, Steven Matz is somebody he drafted.
I don't believe he even drafted him either.
No, he added him too.
Yeah. His totals on the season, we'll start with relief appearances because that's what we're talking about with this guy. 503 is good for 4th best, but he finishes 12 and 12. That's interesting. A 1.23 WHIP toward the bottom. His ERA of 3.80 is good for 3rd best. 1,848 strikeouts. That paces the league by 20 over Brian Lebo.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, given that he did get to have 3 playoff matchups, probably
and add all of those guys, yes, but it's still a testament to that. In fact, after Lebo, there is about a 75 strikeout drop to Josh Haber.
Yeah.
And so on down the line. 634 walks on the season, 2nd worst only to Brian Lebo. So we're seeing a lot of similarities between those 2 managers in this sense. 249 home run. I'm sorry, that is not correct. 231 home runs given up is about 6th or 7th worst. 134 saves, paced the league, beat you by 4, Benji. Now, on the win-loss, do you think he's over or under 500?
I'll say he's over.
It's 116 and 110. It's 6 games over. It's pretty good. 1,814 innings pitched. That paces the league as well. Most innings pitched.
Who's second?
Brian Lebo, 1,795.
Yeah, so that's just it. The most innings, the most strikeouts, and the most walks, right? Like,
and the 2nd most home runs given up.
Yeah.
Right? Is that what it was? No, he was in the middle of the pack on that, but Yeah, second most walks given up. That's for sure. On the hitting side, here's where it's going to get fun, kids. 711 runs scored, second worst in the league. You would think with Trey Turner and all of these speedsters, Cedric Mullins, like 711 runs scored, second worst. 262 doubles is fifth from the bottom. 28 triples. Yep, 28 triples is second best. 215 home runs is like sixth from the bottom. 728 RBIs is like again like sixth from the bottom. 121 steals. He didn't even lead the league in steals. 121 is only third best. 492 walks on the season is second worst to Jay Ferraro had the fewest. 1,182 strikeouts, fourth best in the league. 72 errors on the season, middle of the pack. A 264 batting average, good for fourth best, and a 331 on base percentage is fourth worst in the league.
The one that's jumping out to me is runs, actually. The fact that he played 25 weeks and still managed second to worst. I mean, he had all that extra time to accumulate runs.
Yeah.
And only finished 3 better than Jimmy Dunlap in that category, who was the worst. Insane. Let's take a look at his schedule. Jason Ashby, tell us about his schedule. As
the weirdest season ever.
Yeah, we've definitely have documented this quite often throughout the season. Kind of the streakiness that he had gone on. He begins the year with a loss, a win, and a loss, and then he goes on this win streak. Right, he beats on Bobby, on Frank, on Mazzetta, Brian Lebo, Mike Sherman. Takes 5 wins in a row right there, but then turns that into 4 straight losses against Mike Haber, Uncle Barry, Chris Levy, and myself. But then he comes back with 2 straight wins over Josh and Jimmy, but then 2 more losses against you guys, and then 2 more wins against Jay and Ari, and then 3 more losses. Like, so that was kind of the ups
there's
and downs
no consistency here.
Yeah.
But as soon as he wins, he's going to go on a streak. Yeah.
Yeah.
The 15-6 win in the final week over Brian Lebo absolutely catapults him into the playoffs, gets the tiebreaker with Jimmy Dunlap, and gets him in. And I said it at that point, like, this dude has gone on winning streaks all season. If he's gonna do it, this is the right time to do it. Yeah. He put together 2 more in the playoffs, beating Josh Haber in his first playoff appearance, and more than doubling him up, and then taking down Mike Haber, which is the best win that one can have at that point.
He beat the Habers.
Yeah, he beat the Habers in the playoffs. He might be able to call himself the Haber Killer. I don't know. And then runs into my co-host here to finish out the season. It's a great season. It's a great season from Costas.
Yeah, like you said, not a lot of consistency, and multiple times where we left. We said this guy it's over for him. You know, when he lost to me in week 16. And there were still 6 weeks to play. Mm-hmm. You know, we had him on life support in July. We had him dead and buried in August.
And we were we were talking about his eulogy in September in week 22.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was it, because he had lost 3 in a row.
Yeah.
Who loses 3 in a row and then finds a way to get that big enough win in the final week just to make it in. It's right. It's unrealistic, but it's incredible, and he did an amazing job. He was an amazing manager this year with the trades he made, with the additions that he made, with his draft in general. I mean, for a guy that's going into his first full year, he turned a lot of heads.
Absolutely.
And look, he definitely made some head scratching moves we've talked about, but I think this year he's learning from that, right? And next year he's not going to do that. He's not going to add guys whose games have already started. He's not going to.
Could be extremely dangerous next year.
Yeah, growing pains, mature, intelligent, not only baseball mind but sports mind. I mean, the guy loves sports. He loves football, and now very passionate about fantasy. has been buying books to help improve his game, buying us T-shirts because he loves this league so much and because he made it to the finals. So we got ourselves a keeper. I'm just so grateful that I found this guy and asked him to join us.
Absolutely. Costas, thank you for a wonderful season. Thank you for being a part of our league. We will see you next season. Hopefully you have as much success as you did this season, because I'll be damned, that's the story of this year, is him going to his first finals and doing what he did, Mike Haber's regular season, and Josh Haber making the playoffs. Well, Costas beat both those guys. Like, that's a hell of a story.
Yeah.
That leaves one final team to cover, and it's our champion. It is you, Benny. Let's go ahead and go over your draft here. Bryce Harper as the 14th overall pick in the first round, followed by Manny Machado, Kenley Jansen, Liam Hendricks, Edwin Diaz, back-to-back-to-back closers. Max Fried is the first starter off the board. David Fletcher in the 7th round. We think that was a bit early. And David Fletcher, you've talked about it, had a great first half and was dog shit after that.
Yeah.
So much so that from pre-All-Star break, 309 average, 52 runs scored, 16 doubles, a 336 on base percentage. After the All-Star break, 208 batting average, 254 on base percentage, 22 runs scored, 11 doubles. Dude fell apart.
And not to veer too much off topic, but like I feel like as he went to the Angels, because like they were kind of hanging around there at the All-Star break, and then they just died in the second half.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
It is.
He was getting moved around in the batting order. He was batting 8th. He was batting 9th. Then when he was hot, then obviously Madden moves him to leadoff. Then he's good in leadoff. One thing about him that I will give him credit for is that he didn't strike out. Like, he would make contact, but it was just soft contact to the infield, so he would just ground out or pop out fairly often. So
626 at bats, 60 strikeouts on the season. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Good.
Yeah. It would not be a big season if Ben did not draft Carlos Santana. It is the validation draft pick of the year. Not great. Not a 2019 Carlos Santana, but not a 2020 Carlos Santana. It wasn't as horrible.
No, it was more horrible because it was a full season.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's see. Archie Bradley was a bust. Luke Voigt was an injured, just kind of albatross on your IL for a long time.
Yeah, but eventually, like, he was on the team and he was almost fairly a regular first baseman. Was it an early pick? 1,000%, but he did.
But he led the major leagues in home runs in 2020 for whatever that's worth, and you have to believe that he's at least going to be somewhere in the middle of a good Yankee lineup. So I don't blame you for taking the pick. It's just unfortunate that he got hurt. Didi Gregorius was another disaster. Jesse Winker is the pick of your draft here in the 12th round. Unfortunately, and I thought this might be the fly in the ointment to your season of, like, you have this guy and he's been so good for you, and then you lose him at the worst possible time.
Yeah.
On the season.
But I will say that my outfield was so deep with the additions of Duvall and Adalis Garcia and, dare I say, Fletcher. Like, there were a lot of outfielders on this team. So as bad as that injury was, and it's like that's basically my best player besides Harper and maybe Machado, at the same time, at least I don't have to make decisions on that other, because I'm going to play Winker every day. So it's like, who's the odd man out? Instead, that's one extra man in. So like, sometimes like someone's loss is another man's addition, and so it worked out, I guess, in my favor more so than it hurt.
I mean, a 305 average, 24 homers, 71 RBIs, 77 runs scored in 110 games.
Yeah.
You take that. You take that all day in the 12th round. Jake McGee might be another great pick in the 13th round, giving you a ton of saves. Reyes Moronta was the other guy from San Francisco. You went with two guys from San Francisco. You landed one of them. You throw the other guy away. And
that was the idea.
That makes all the sense in the world. You finally went back to starting pitching with Andrew Haney and Sean Manaea. Haney was an unmitigated fucking dumpster fire, but Manaea was great.
You only needed 1 out of 2 to work.
Right. Odorizzi wasn't great, and he was injured. Drew Smiley was bad too. Lorenzo Cain was injured. Colton Wong was also injured. He turned into Cesar Hernandez. He's probably better than Cesar Hernandez by the end of the season. But when you have to mitigate injuries, like, you find those pieces. Mike Minor was dog shit. Griffin Canning was worse than dog shit. Odubel Herrera was pretty good for you. Carson Kelly was a decent catcher, but he didn't finish on your team. In fact, you drafted 2 catchers in the final 3 rounds. Neither of them finished your team on your finished the season on your team, and you finished with 2 catchers on your team. So, Miguel Cabrera and Wilson Ramos were the final 2 picks there. I guess Cabrera is just one of those, like, maybe he just has, like, old man great season, and Ramos was. I feel like Ramos was a pick just to sort of spite me because I hated Wilson Ramos.
It was part of that, but then also I looked at his numbers over his career in the last few years, and I said, this guy's a pretty good hitting catcher. And I didn't hate the Tigers' offense, and he actually was doing some stuff for me early on until finally we realized the point where, like, Ramos was the odd man out, and I didn't need him anymore. And it was, I think, when I picked up Narvaez and Tucker Barnhart.
Yeah, and I mean, that guy, I don't know that he has a job this year, next year, or at all. I think he might be done.
Yeah. Maybe.
He might have a coaching job somewhere, but that's about it.
Sure.
That could work. Benji, let's look at your wins and losses on the season.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. 13-9 in runs with 2 ties, 14-9 in doubles, 7-5 in triples with 12 ties, 9-10 with 5 ties and home runs, 14-10 in RBIs, 8-11 in steals with 5 ties, 13-10 in walks. I don't like that. 12-12 in strikeouts, 11-7 in errors with 6 ties, 15-9 in batting average, 13-11 in on-base percentage. So of those 2 categories that I love, walks and on-base percentage, I was 3 over 500 in walks and 2 over 500 in on-base. I expected a little bit better than that.
I think we all expect a little better from you in those 2, especially coming off of 2019, where I think you just absolutely crushed those 2 categories all season. But it does speak to Carlos Santana isn't what he used to be. Bryce Harper can only do so much as, like, the guy who gets all the walks. I've been saying, like, most of the season, this guy's a Ben Nisman guy in the future. This guy's I could see Yandy Diaz replacing Carlos Santana in years to come. I could see a lot of different moving parts in years to come because of situations like this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I find it interesting that I was over 500 by more in stats like runs, that I was 4 over. In doubles, I was 5 over 500. In RBIs, I was 4 over 500. The fact that I was 15-9 in batting average, something like that kind of surprises me with the group that I had.
Right. Let's take a look at the pitching side.
It's not pretty. 6-17 in innings pitched, 7-14 in wins, 12-10 is fine in losses. In saves, that was good. 20-2 with 2 ties. I'd say that's good.
We expect that.
15-6 with 3 ties and home runs given up. 18-4 with 2 ties and walks given up. 9-15 in strikeouts, to be expected. Here's where it gets kind of good. 16
kind of good.
16-8 in ERA.
So modest.
14-10 in WHIP, and 17-6 in relief appearances with 1 tie. That was one of the best percentages after obviously Mike Haber and Jay Ferraro. And,
look, it was a very
Jimmy.
Yeah, it was a bullpen heavy team that snuck to the minimum. That's why you would lose innings and why wins sometimes weren't there, because you're not picking you're not picking a whole lot of starters to go. You're bulking the majority of your innings out of your bullpen.
Yeah.
Let's talk about totals, Benji. Relief appearances 511 is second best in the league behind Mike Haber's 581. A 117 whip, second best in the league to only Josh Haber at a 116. A 387 ERA is going to be. It's going to be middle of the pack. It's going to be fifth best, actually, just behind myself and a few others. The ERA we just talked about. Strikeouts 1,424. Fourth worst. Yeah, third worst actually. Only Uncle Barry and Bobby had fewer strikeouts. Walks 405. That, sir, is best in the league by 53. I'm sorry, 63 ahead of Bobby Russo.
Yeah, and I played 3 extra weeks, and I was still at that.
174 home runs given up, third best in the league. Saves at 130, second best in the league. 97 and 82 on the season, Benji. That is, last I checked, 15 over 500 in the win-loss column. 1,354 innings pitched, fourth worst in the league. But you did have 2 extra weeks to play, and you finished ahead of Bobby, Jay Ferraro, and Uncle Barry in those categories.
Okay.
On the offensive side, your run totals of 789. It's middle of the pack. It's middle of the pack, as good as you can expect to get there. 282 for your doubles, also middle of the pack. In fact, sixth best. 14 triples on the season, second worst. Not a whole lot of triples on that team. 217 home runs. You know what? You don't think that's much, but there were 3 teams that didn't even get 200. And then 3 more behind you. So 7th worst is not bad. That's not bad in this league. 742 RBIs is, again, right around that same area, about 7th worst in the league. 65 stolen bases is 4th worst. You were ahead of only Mike Mazzetta, Ari Nisman, and Jay Ferraro in that category. 551 walks, sits middle of the pack. 1,220 strikeouts. That feels pretty good. It's actually just middle of the pack. Yeah. Errors of 73. Middle of the pack. 256 batting average. Again, it's toward the bottom. It's about 6 from the bottom. And a 329 on base percentage. That's not very good. That's, in fact, third worst in the league. We saw a few weeks, Benjamin, that your offense just never came to fucking play. There were a couple of weeks you hit like 170.
I know. or like 205, It was just, I would have a good offensive week, I'd have a bad offensive week. And it just kind of, not only did that like intertwine, but also like, as we'll get into the schedule, there was a time where I was winning. It was towards the end where I was like, I won a week, I lost a week. I won a week, I lost a week. It was just very unusual season.
Yeah, let's talk about that schedule, Jason.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. There definitely was some back and forth, but the thing I'm noticing, we talked about is a lot of your wins were really big wins, and not a lot of your losses were big losses. So, you start off with 2 wins in a row, including a double up on your brother, and then you take a loss to Bobby, but just an 11-9 loss. You win 2 more in a row. Then a loss to Brian Lebo, and then a win and a loss and a win and a tie and a win and a win. But your wins, I mean, the big win over Uncle Barry 15-2, the big win over me 14-3, Josh Haber 13-5. Did take a big loss to Jimmy 16-3. But that's really it as far as like your any big losses go. You had
13-5 to Mike Haber was a hurtful one too.
Yeah. 12-7 to Jay. He had an 11-8 loss to Bobby week 18, but that was coming off of a big 15-2 win over Ari again. So
and followed it with a 15-4 over Frank.
Right. There's a 15-5 win over Brian Lebo. So you had a lot of big wins in the season.
Yeah. You were dump trucking fools and ruining people's seasons mid-year. The 15-2 on Uncle Barry in week 9 pretty much told him what he needed to know about it. Just disgracing your brother with a 15-2 loss later that season. Like, you were bullying your family, and it wasn't very nice of you to do that.
100%.
The 14-3 over me. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Yep.
that ended Jason's probably,
Yep.
where there was still a chance for him, you know.
Yep. Ben was definitely the closer on a lot of people's seasons, and it's no surprise given what he is his affinity for closers on his team. Benjamin, it has been a wonderful season. I will leave you to discuss your season as you remember it before we close.
Absolutely. So one thing is that there are two members on this team that came back from the 2019 season. They'll forever be beloved as champions. Clearly, one of them we know is Carlos Santana, and the other one is Kenley Jansen, just a closer that I felt like is a money in the bank closer that is going to be the closer for the Dodgers. And fortunately never got hurt and stayed consistently there. And the Dodgers were a good team. So he had a lot of opportunities, and Santana was terrible, but it's apropos that he had that big final day for me to win a championship. The ads, Adalis Garcia turned into like a really decent ad. I mean, he had a great run for me. Adam Duvall, although he would kill me in strikeouts a lot of times, I would say there were often times where he would get a bunch of home runs. And
How the fuck does Adam Duvall get off hitting 38 homers and 113 RBIs?
He's done the 100 RBIs thing before, though, on Cincinnati.
Yeah, but he played half of a season with the Marlins.
Right. That's true. And Cesar Hernandez, I mean, that's a fan favorite of mine. Like, I've always been a fan of him. And although he wasn't good, he was pretty decent in the power department. And I feel like once he was traded to the White Sox, it's like, cool, now he's on a really good team, and he's going to get a lot of opportunities to either drive in runs or score runs. And he was either batting at the top of the lineup, which wasn't so good sometimes. Sometimes he would bat like ninth. And it was like, okay, so at least, if he's bad, it's an 0 for 3. It's not like too much worse than that. Or maybe he'll do something. So, and then finally, the MVP of the championship round, JP Crawford, who batted 375 and a 464 on base in that final week for me. 4 runs, 2 doubles, 3 RBIs, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. The 3 walks wins me that category, and the 464 on base percentage also contributes. This guy is the 2019, if he's the 2021 Kevin Newman.
Yes.
Of 2019.
Yes.
I picked
Dude
him
who
up
showed up with his bat and was like, please don't take me out of the lineup. And Ben Nisman never did.
He batted 273. He had 9 home runs. He had 54 RBIs. He had 89 runs on the season. Not sure how many he had for me, but just, again, it gave me no reason to drop him. He became my regular shortstop. Was he awful some weeks? Sure, but he was consistent enough that he kept me going.
JP Crawford for you on the season, 290 batting average, 358 on base percentage, 61 runs, 25 doubles, 6 homers, 35 RBIs, a steal, 38 walks, 73 strikeouts, and 7 errors.
How'd you find that out, that what he did for my team only?
So when you go to anybody's team here, I'll just show you. I can share the screen. I could do this. So here's my team. Let's just go to your team real quick. If you click up here where it says team log, it'll show you everybody who's been on your team all season long.
Oh, wow.
And what they did for you.
There's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them. And here's JD Davis. Where the hell is JP Crawford? Here he is. 92 games you had him in the lineup. 109 for 376. That's 290 with a 358.
Yeah, there was
Dallas Garcia, 26 homers, 71 RBIs, 64 runs scored.
And Duvall.
Duvall, 26 homers, 78 RBIs, 22 walks, 116 strikeouts, 227 average, 278 on base percentage.
Those last 2 numbers are ugly.
They're hitting.
But but the Sean Manaea Max Fried was a very unusual tandem to be a 1-2 punch, but it worked out. It just fortunately worked out. beating Costas 3 times in one season, I'm pretty sure we'd have to look back to find out the last time someone was able to beat someone 3 times in the same season. I thought that was very unusual, unlikely, but managed to pull it off. Changing my name back to Embrace the Moment and putting a picture of Andy Dufresne in Shawshank Redemption, escaping the prison of Shawshank, I thought was a really useful way to propel me to success. And finally, how many trades did I make this season?
That's 0, boys. That's 0.
So
you proved a point here, Benjamin. You proved a point with this team.
Right. See, Jimmy Dunlap and I were the only 2 guys that didn't make a trade this season. And
Josh Haber didn't make a trade this season.
Oh, really? Okay, so my mistake. There was 3. But no, are you sure? No, Josh and Mike, I thought made a trade with each other, didn't
positive Josh Haber didn't make a trade this season.
Okay. So although Brian Lebo said like your championship is won in free agency and trades, I guess I'm the outlier.
No, free agency most certainly helped you win this championship.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Adam Duvall and Adolis Garcia, J.P. Crawford,
1,000%. And a couple of pitchers here and there sprinkled in.
Of course.
And if it's all right with you, I'd like to finally take this thing off the mantle and
go for it.
A couple of plushies will hit the ground and
who cares?
Sacrificed.
You deserve it. You deserve it.
There it goes. Down they go. The Hofstra Pride line just ate it, and the Mets alien also did.
Oh well, there it is. Ben Nisman kissing the trophy, the 2021 Bigs champion. He's the only guy to beat me in the playoffs. He's the reason I haven't won 5 fucking straight. This guy is once again the king of the mountain. Benji, we're going to have a whole season of me calling you the reigning and defending champion all over again. It's going to be great.
Old. It's not going to get old, man. I'm sure it didn't get old this year when I kept doing it, right?
Of course, you know what this means, right? Means I have to win another title like next year. We just have to alternate even and odd forever.
Since 18, huh? It's just you and me controlling this part of
17. Since
17, yeah. You and I, and I'll go right here. And then there's one spot left here for someone else.
Yeah, I think there's 14 other of us that have something to say about that. So
yeah,
I mean, y'all ain't had nothing to say for the last 5 years.
Well,
it's only a matter of time until you and I are just eating.
You and I could finish 16th and 15th this year and next year, and we will not care.
I won't care. I definitely won't.
Guys, it has been an unbelievable 2021 season. I am so glad that we're opening up our new home here on YouTube and Vimeo, and the audio will be up on Spotify and Stitcher. And because I just remembered as I finish this out, it'll give me a breakdown, like it'll give me all of the video and audio, but then it'll also just give me the audio file. So I could just upload that to Anchor. That'll be up on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find us there. So you don't have to just look for the video. We certainly appreciate that. And by all means, follow us on all of these new social medias we're diving into. It's the Bigs Podcast on Instagram. It's the Bigs Podcast on TikTok. It's the Bigs Podcast on Twitter. We've got all wonderful things we are going to be keeping up all off season long. We have a ton of things to cover, whether it's free agency, whether it's Hall of Fame stuff, whether it's individual teams. I want to do an entire show about the Yankees. Like, we've got a ton of stuff to talk about. I hope that you will follow along with us. Whether you're with us or not next year, thank you for this wonderful season. We got through COVID together in 2020. We got through the recovery in 2021, and we crowned a very, very worthy champion in 2021. I thank each and every one of you for being a part of this league. Jason, I thank you for being here with us. Ben, I thank you for running this terrific league. It is now 18 seasons?
Since 2005.
Oh, so
6, 12, 17.
17 seasons. Next year will be our 18th year.
Yep. And Joe, as much as it's me that started it up, dude, you've taken it to a whole new level, man. And Mike and Jason, they were there to carry the load for part of the season when you needed a breather, and it's because they wanted to do it for us, for the league, for you. They wanted to, grab that baton, carry the torch, and do their best that they could and make you proud. We all want to make you proud because you love this league so much, and we love this league so much, and we love you, and we're very grateful to have you because you are still the soul of this league, and without you, it's a completely different type of experience. So I'm sorry that I have to get emotional towards the end, man, but it's just because I love you so much, and I love everybody in this league.
I love you boys too, and I wouldn't be
Yeah.
doing this without you. I wouldn't be here without you. And I also wouldn't have 4 titles if you guys didn't suck so bad at this. I love you guys. Until next year, boys. It's been real. It's been fun. And it is always real fun in the bigs. We'll see you in the off season, boys.